Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old energy boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky Perry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha. Champagne all round and put it on my tab.
This is Talk Sports Extra Time. We are the Two Mics, and first time of the week. Here's my opportunity to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And yes, you are right. It's a sensationally buzzing atmosphere out there with news and sport fizzing around like a firework.
Can you just say that first bit again?
Wrong. What?
Can you just say the first bit again?
What?
About me being right. Just say that again. I'm not sure if they recorded it.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
You're right.
Thank you.
Things are active, lively.
Yeah, they are.
They're effervescent.
Yeah, everything's
like
moving.
You're
very dynamic.
Particularly when you had a couple of bottles of Shiraz.
Yeah, well, we don't want to talk about that yet, do we?
No, not just yet. Now, Broadchurch has finished, okay?
Yes, it has.
But it hasn't finished. How about that?
What do you mean it hasn't finished?
There's a third series.
Don't give it away already.
There's a third series.
How do you know there's a third series?
They announced at the end of the second series tonight there will be a third series. They're coming back.
So what are you saying? Because I haven't seen it yet, of course, and we don't want to give too much away. But is there some kind of cliffhanger? Is that what you're telling me? Do you know what cliffhanger is?
Yeah, I know what cliffhanger is, and there isn't, in fact, a cliffhanger at the end
There
of
is
this
a big cliff in it, though.
Yeah, there is a big cliff in it, because that's where it's filmed, isn't it? What's the place called?
West Bay.
West Bay, that's right. And there is a very big cliff, though, although it seems to be crumbling by the hour.
It
It seems to be a lot of
maybe by
rocks.
the next series it'll be a lot smaller.
Yeah, down at the bottom. But a sign at the end said, I spotted this one.
Yeah.
It said, we will return for a third series.
Well,
so I assume from that there's going to be a third
series.
series.
I mean, I saw an awful lot of action on Twitter from people who were very careful not to give the ending away. Some people said disappointing. Some people said it was sad. Some people said it was emotional.
No, I thought it was great.
Certainly what a lot of people were saying is they could have filmed all of that series in 2 episodes because hardly anything happened for ages.
Oh, no, rubbish. No, it was great. It was brilliant. The second series was better than the first. It was great, full of twists and turns, full of a complicated plot, which in the end all sort of
Don't give it away.
Place.
Will you be telling us all about the ending on Porky Vision on Wednesday night, then?
Well, I was about to say that I'm giving due warning now that I'm going to tell you everything that happened in last night's programme fully on Wednesday night.
Right.
So if you want to get your viewing in before Wednesday, do. If you don't blame me.
Yes.
If I suddenly have to expose to you the way that Broadchurch ended, because for you selfish people keeping it there on your Sky Plus box or whatever, I can't just not deliver the verdict to the other 2 million people in the audience that listen to old MG and I overnight, worldwide, who want to know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's fair enough.
Me as a TV reviewer of par excellence quality to give it to you.
It's not silent at the end. Let's talk about Everton for a moment, because do you remember when I said to you, I think they should put a 4G pitch in at Goodison Park?
Yeah.
Clearly, that would have been a good idea. Many people have agreed with me as well since I said that, because they played they stunk the place out on the weekend.
Well, that's not quite right.
They did. And Romelu Lukaku, who was the hero of midweek when he scored a hat-trick in Switzerland, in Bern, he missed a hat-trick this week. At the weekend.
He still scored our equalising goal to save the game for us.
He did, but that was a bit ridiculous, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. No, he still got that. Look, I don't know what's going on with Everton's home form in the Premier League. It's baffling. And, Roberto Martinez has paid a lot of money to sort it out. But does Roberto Martinez look as impoverished in terms of expectant success as Louis Van Gaal?
No, he certainly does not. He took a lot of what could have been described as pelters, didn't he, for his performance?
And also,
was it 3 shots on goal? And when I was watching the analysis on Match of the Day, even Robbie Savage was savaging them, saying, what about all these long balls? This is not the way Manchester United should be playing. It's an absolute disgrace. Angel Di Maria, £60 million worth of a dud. It's incredible stuff.
Also, Wayne Rooney, who's his captain, now taking he seems to be taking the party line. Oh, we should have won the game. We were much better and all that kind of stuff. That wasn't the verdict, really, of what I saw on Match of the Day. So look, it was very disappointing, but it's always great. I mean, when you're 2-1 down with just minutes to go and you're an equaliser, that's like a victory. Yeah. And for Leicester, it must have been like a defeat, because they had 2 points snatched off them, and they are way down at the bottom.
They are.
They're cut adrift.
They are.
So they needed those 2 points, probably even more than we did. I mean, just a little bit chatter and talk about everything getting dragged into a relegation battle. Utter nonsense.
Well, it's all there
view.
To be played for, I would say, because there's a very small number of points covering Everton down, isn't there? I mean,
that's right,
It is possible that something could go horribly wrong.
But of course, we continue our European adventures this week on Thursday, and young boys come to like lambs to the slaughter.
Calm down. There's no need for physical violence. There's no need for them to even play a first team, is there, for that game?
That depends on what Roberto wants to do. He might want to get the team into shape for a visit to Arsenal on Monday, which I should be going to.
Oh, you're going to go to that?
On Sunday.
Are you going to go to that?
Of course we're going to go. What do you mean?
Well, you normally, when you go to a game with Everton in London, you invite me.
Yeah, I do normally, but I'm going into an exclusive box, and there's no room for you.
Really?
No.
Have you asked?
I didn't actually.
You didn't,
I thought you'd make the place look untidy.
You didn't ask?
No, I didn't ask, no.
Are you going to be wearing a suit this time? Or are you going to be turning up in that kind of clobber you turned up with the other night on Friday?
What are you on about?
That sort of, ridiculous stripy shirt everyone thought you'd given to
What do you mean
Oxfam.
ridiculous stripy shirt? That was a very, very smart attire. By the way, talking about Friday night, and I'm not going to react to your idiocy about my dress code. I mean,
Well, there's worse than that to come. I mean, there's some incriminating pictures that I haven't even put out on Twitter yet.
About what?
About your behaviour.
Oh, rubbish. What sort of behaviour?
Well, I'm not going to get into it now.
Look,
but I'll tell you, if you overstep the mark tonight, these pictures are going out.
Okay, I'm going to get this straight before you start Mickey Mousing it and putting out ridiculous false propaganda. Okay then. We had a great show. I think you'll agree. It's the best show that we've had so far.
Very good.
It's great. It's warmed us up for Birmingham a week on Friday.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of the glow of the show...
Yeah, or the after-show party, as you like to call it.
Yeah. The after-show party. We go downstairs. I happened to engage in conversation with a lady who realised that I had a home near Portsmouth.
The mother of one of our employees here at TalkSport.
I didn't know that when I was talking to her.
Yeah.
I didn't know that when I was talking to her.
You thought she was some random woman.
No, I just thought she was a rather attractive lady, and she sort of giving me the eye a bit, and I thought, well, I'll just talk to her, Excuse me.
Giving you the eye.
I just sort of talked to her, and then found that we had a mutual interest in English naval architecture.
Oh, really?
And
I'd never have known that.
So I said to her, well, if I can help you any further... And I happily gave her my number because I'm an expert on the subject.
And we caught that all on camera, funnily enough.
And then you started taking pictures and making salacious comments and smutty little innuendos like you're all a bunch of schoolboys, running around and tittering.
The
and
most
all this
amazing
kind of
thing
stuff.
was the fact that you took out your little notebook and wrote your number down, but with a pen.
Yes.
And tore the paper out very acidiously and handed it to her. That was the most amazing thing.
What's wrong with that?
Well, because nobody does that.
Why?
Well, it's just like your referee's notebook or something.
Well, how else do you convey a number to somebody?
Well, you send it to them on your information device.
Well, yes, but I think that's rather impersonal. And I don't carry business cards because I don't think anybody's that interested in wanting to know
because you haven't got any business.
Well, no, it's not so
What
much
would you
that.
have on your business card, anyway? What would it say?
It would say Porky Parry.
And then what? What else?
Broadcaster. Raconteur.
Naval historian, possibly?
Naval historian, that's right, yeah. And a number, but...
Well, I mean, sadly, the chat-up lines that you used on her, I can't actually repeat. I can't repeat on the radio.
I didn't use any chat-up lines.
For anyone who wants to know how you tried to woo her, you have to wait till one of the live shows because it's too disgraceful for me to be able to repeat.
No, ridiculous. And,
it is.
And I don't know why you constantly try to besmirch my reputation.
Not at all. I think it was a very game attempt that you made there, but I think you may have gone a little bit too far.
It wasn't a game attempt. Well, I received a very nice note from the lady concerned Sunday saying that how much she'd enjoyed the evening, all that kind of stuff. So is there a
dinner date set up to discuss more naval
I'm not going
matters?
into that.
Naval gazing.
I refuse to get involved in your smutty little innuendos. And, we've got important subjects we're going to talk about tonight. Like
we have.
My brush with the dead. Frightening.
Yes. Well,
frightening.
she was saying it was a bit like that actually on Friday night, but
Sorry?
that's another story.
What?
A brush with the dead. It was a bit like that on Friday night.
Another little smutty innuendo, No, what I want to tell you about is...
Have you seen the time, by the way?
Yeah, I know.
You can't tell me about anything
now. I've had to change car washers.
Have you? Because
the place that I normally use, I go there the other day, and it's been redeveloped as a sort of car park or something.
Oh, really?
So there's a guy standing there with one of those big boards. That must be the world's most painful job, to stand there with a sign on a pole for hours in the cold, directing you to somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Can't be one of the great jobs.
Can't be one of the great jobs. I'll tell you what happened next.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
Actually, so you're learning now that there is a time principle. No, I'm not learning.
It's just that
there's a time principle.
I can't allow you to moan and whinge to the audience when there's important things to do.
Quite right, too. He's Porky Parry. I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes, and more coming up next. We'll find out. Why do you have to go to this particular car wash?
Well, I don't know any others. Any others.
What do you don't know any others?
I don't know where there are any other car washes.
Well, there's about...
Hand car wash?
Yeah, there's loads of them.
No, not where I live, mate. We don't allow
well, in London, there are about every
washes.
3 or 4 streets you see
where
we are.
I don't see them. Anyway, so the bloke with the board has an arrow on it, and I go in that direction, and I eventually get to the new car wash.
Yeah.
But the problem is, I didn't realise, because it was a one-way street, that once I got out of the car wash, after leaving my car there to be washed, I walk up the street, turn right, and guess what is facing me right across the road?
I don't know. A pub?
No. And there is no way in the world I can avoid it without taking at least a 3-mile detour, okay?
Right.
It's the funeral home that I
the one that you try and avoid driving past.
I so hate driving past each evening and morning.
You didn't drive past it on the way to the car wash?
Because as I say, I came round another route, which was a one-way system, you know, and ended up coming. It came at me on the blind side. So anyway, and you know that room which I so hate, which has lights on 24 hours a day, and these are big beaming arc lights which shine down on dead bodies which have been brought in during the night. You know what I mean? Right. And the images.
And what was the scene then? This was during the day then?
This is during the day.
Were the lights still on?
Yeah, that's what I say. They're on 24 hours a day.
Really?
Because I think that they focus on the cadavers. And,
cadavers?
Yeah, that's right. And for some unknown reason, they never switched off. And I just thought, no, there's a load of stiffs in there. And so
That's not a very nice way to refer to it.
I know it's not, but I mean, that's the image you get of what's on the other side of that window, you know what I mean? So I got the 4 fingers of both my hands, made the sign of a cross, like that.
What, with 4 fingers? No, with 2 fingers?
No, the 4finger is your first finger,
Oh, sorry.
you idiot.
I thought you meant 4 fingers.
No.
Like you make sort of a strange lattice type
2
effect.
fingers.
Right.
But 2 4-fingers.
2 4-fingers,
yes,
that's 8
right.
fingers.
No, you idiot. Just shut up, William. Let me explain to the audience. So I made the sign of the cross. I backed against the wall on the other side of the road.
I suppose somebody didn't call the police.
Well, I
edged past. You must have looked completely bonkers.
And, it mentally shook me up terribly.
I bet.
And I was, I was unsteady for the rest of the day, I'm telling you, thinking of all those poor dead people.
And how did you
get
back to the car wash? Did you have to walk back the same way?
Oh, no, I walked back round the one-way system. You see.
The one-way system?
Yeah.
What, you mean the 3-mile detour system?
Well, it wasn't quite 3 miles.
Yeah.
It would have been 3 miles if it had gone the other way.
Right.
So I took a shortcut across a park, which I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
And
I
got
really
back
think,
that way.
when we had that guest on who said that you must confront these fears, and his suggestion was, he agreed with me when I said,
driving around in a
why don't
hearse?
we put you in the back of a hearse and drive you around? I think we should do that.
I don't think so, mate.
I really do.
But anyway, that was very unsettling. That was the start of Saturday. That was just a few hours after we'd finished at the Hen and Chickens.
Yes, right.
So all by elation at having helped to make people's lives better the night before. Quite a lot of people's lives better the night before was drained away pretty damn quickly.
Yeah.
I found something else out on Saturday.
What happened?
And this is not a joke. This is. I was told about a new way to get rid of hiccups.
Oh, yeah.
And
Did you get hiccups on Saturday, then?
No, I didn't, actually.
I must say, I don't get hiccups very often.
No, well, I don't, but when I do, they're a nuisance. I can never get rid of them, and it's embarrassing if you're in company or something like that, or whatever.
Why don't you just drink water from the opposite side of the glass?
Well, you try all that, standing on your head, drinking water and all sorts of things.
Get somebody to give you a shock.
Shock, or something like that.
Especially in your case, that could be a bit dangerous, though, given that only 1/3 of your heart works.
Well, got to watch the old heart. But, and this is serious, and people will say, well, hang on, be careful what you're giving as advice, it's dangerous. The idea is that when you've got hiccups, it's because of an absence or an excess of carbon dioxide.
Oh, yeah.
In your
lungs.
Well, not necessarily your lungs, in your thoracic cavity, so to speak. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, around there somewhere. And that's what you have to counter.
But people normally get hiccups when they've been gulping air, don't they?
No, and that's why you have to hold your breath.
No?
No, you have to hold your breath for as long as you can to try and get the balance back up of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your body, okay?
Really?
Now,
sounds complicated.
Yeah, now this sounds ridiculous, but this is what I was told you do. Go outside, start your car, and then breathe in some exhaust fumes from your car.
That doesn't sound like a good idea.
Well, I mean, you mustn't do it in an enclosed space for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be really idiotic.
Let's be quite perfectly frank about this. It's a method by which people sometimes choose to commit suicide, which is a horrible thing to have to say. But you do it out in the open, and you just
But there's nothing good coming out the back of an exhaust.
It's carbon monoxide.
Yeah,
carbon monoxide.
It's poison.
Yeah, but it apparently balances...
I mean, it's called pollution. That's why people are always railing against cars in cities, aren't they?
No, but it rebalances the carbon dioxide in your body. No, apparently it does. And you mustn't do it for more than about 5 seconds. Just one whiff of the old carbon monoxide.
Well, it's not very convenient.
Got to be out in the open.
Apart from the fact that it's an idiotic idea, it's not very convenient.
Got to be out in the open.
Yeah, apart from that, apart from the fact that it's not very convenient,
and then it's perfectly safe, and it helps you to get rid of
well, it's not perfectly
hiccups.
safe, first of all, because it's a poison that you'd be asking people to ingest.
Well, hang on. People are breathing breathing in that amount of fume every day, walking up and down high streets.
Yeah, but not in its concentrated form. That's
well,
the difference.
you don't do it in a concentrated form, obviously.
Well, you do if you're standing behind a car, breathing in the stuff coming out the back of it.
I said very briefly for 5 seconds, and it's dissipated with the air around it.
Wouldn't you be better off just trying to cure it some other way?
Well, yeah, but I mean, sometimes you can't. Sometimes, I mean...
Well, like when you're standing in a room, as you say, and it's a bit embarrassing.
Yes.
So you're suggesting what you should do is go out of that room, get in a lift, go downstairs, find a car that random because you didn't bring your own car because you're having a drink, and then breathe in the smoke behind somebody's car who happens to be sitting in traffic.
Well, that's not a bad idea.
It's not very convenient, is it?
Well, it's not very convenient, and that's going to extreme lengths, isn't it? You know, I'm thinking more if you're on your own, you've got your own time, your own way to do it. It's
well, if you're on your own, it doesn't matter if you've got hiccups, does it?
Well, of course it does. Why? It's very unpleasant. It shakes you.
Well, it might be unpleasant.
You go, and all your body shakes, and it's
My
very
dog
unpleasant.
used to get hiccups.
Dog got hiccups?
Yeah, he used to get hiccups,
Which
when he
dog?
was a puppy.
Which
My
dog?
dog, the dog that I own.
Well, the dog that you abandon
No,
on a
not
regular
the dog
basis.
that I abandon on a regular basis.
The
No, I took him for a
abandoned
nice
dog.
walk, actually, today.
I told the audience about the way you abandoned your dog on Friday night.
It didn't go down well, but he doesn't
What
seem
do you
to
mean
get
it
them
didn't
so
go
much.
down well?
It's like babies get hiccups a lot as well.
Hang on, what do you mean it didn't go well? The audience very much appreciated me detailing, your total lack of compassion to your dog.
No, I don't think they got it at all.
Oh, they got it.
I'll tell you something else that happened to me coming in tonight. Actually, there's a road there's one of those cut throughs because they've now started digging up even more of the roads between where I live and here, right? And so I was coming down this kind of very narrow road that I use sometimes when I have to try and get around some temporary traffic light. And I came and I had one of those kind of shocks that you get where I was just driving past one of the corners and this little cat came running out right in front of the car. And I was sure, there was no way for me to stop, really.
No.
There was absolutely nothing that I could do
I
to
hope
put
it
the
didn't
brakes
go
on.
under the wheels.
Well, the cat literally stopped about, a foot from the wheel and suddenly darted back in the opposite direction.
Right.
But it was a black cat, but it had sort of white bits on it, so I don't know whether that counts as an unlucky cat, because you know how you say cats are evil.
So you didn't knock the cat down?
No, I didn't knock it down, no. I wouldn't have been able to stop, though. If it had kept going, I would have run it over.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, there's a road that
shook me up quite a bit.
Well, that would shake you up, yeah. That's particularly if you're an animal lover like me. By the way, what I told the audience on Friday was the way that when you go around walking your dog, but you've got headphones on or you're on the phone all the time, you're mentally distressing the dog because the dog likes the company of humans.
Well, first of all, I don't wear headphones when I'm walking the dog. And second of all, I'm never on the phone when I'm walking the dog unless you ring me.
Yeah, exactly. I've been on the phone so many times when you've been with your dog and the poor dog's whimpering in the background. He wants more attention. You won't get him a friend. You won't get him another dog to play with. So you're supposed to be his companion, and yet you spend all your time walking with him on the phone, talking to people about nonsense and rubbish.
Yeah, well, that's because it's you on the phone I'm talking nonsense and rubbish
to. What I was going to say to you was, there's a road I pass on the way in, right, coming up from Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, up into sort of Greater London, and it's in a village called Carshalton, right? And there's ponds there with lots of ducks on, and there's a heron lives there and all sorts of things. Yeah, it's very, very nice and sort of rural. But there's one road that snakes around a pub on the edge of the pond where the railings are permanently being knocked into the pond. I haven't yet seen...
Well, who's knocking the railings into the pond?
Cars hit them. The road is so narrow between there's a bay window in the pub, right? Yeah. What's the pub called? It's called the Greyhound.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the edge of the pond is so narrow that if there's anything as wide as an ambulance coming the other way...
Yeah.
The car on the other side, if it doesn't stop in time where the road's a bit wider, it has to push out and they knock the railings into the pond.
Well, that must damage the car, surely.
Well, I assume it does. I haven't yet seen a car in the ponds, right, in all the years that I've noticed this happening, but it's going to happen
Well, why
soon.
maybe just take the railing off?
Well, I don't know. I just don't understand it. They have to constantly repair it. Once again, the railing's missing. There's all sorts of fencing put up there on a temporary basis. That will soon be replaced by new railings. And it happens at least twice a month. It's unbelievable.
Bizarre.
So I don't know why, with all the cost of regularly replacing these railings, they don't just bite the bullet and say, right, we're going to extend that road by 3 feet.
Yeah.
Just pile a load of concrete into the pond.
Well, because what about your beloved ducks?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't take much space up. They're big ponds, believe me. And they're fed by a river as well.
Yeah, but there's
constant clean water.
But they'll have to put up with all the the shenanigans of men working
one
there,
of these days,
digging and damming and all of that. They'll just leave the ponds. They won't be there anymore.
No, they will. They'll be all right. But one of these days, the ponds are going to be extra polluted anyway by having a car dive into them, because it's going to happen. It's bound to.
It's got to do with the fact that the road is now more used than it ever was.
No.
That's the other problem.
No, not really. It's got regular commuter traffic and all that kind of stuff. It's just ridiculous that they haven't done something about it all these years. I'd have sorted that out years ago, literally
Well, what
years
about
ago.
your Duck Conservancy? Isn't that what you're supposed to be doing with all this kind of, Duck Conservancy work that you do?
Well, the Duck Conservancy is not based on that particular ponds. They're based on ponds deeper down in Surrey.
Well, what difference does that make?
What do you mean?
Well, surely if you're a Duck Conservancy type, you want to go conserve the
Well, the
areas
ducks
for
aren't
ducks.
under threat or anything like that. I mean,
Well, they will be if they want to make the pond smaller.
Well, the pond, yeah, but only minimally small. It's a very big pond, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
If you put a 1 mile pier into the Atlantic Ocean, it wouldn't take away any space for ships to navigate the Atlantic Ocean.
That's true.
And that's the same sort of scale for these ponds and a bit of extra road to stop cars knocking the railings into the ponds all the
Start
time.
another petition. You've got about 8 going at the moment.
No. I want to talk to you about that later. I've got a new animal issue which I've got to get very seriously into.
Yes.
To try and save suffering from animals around this planet. I see it as a mission, and I've come across another disgraceful situation which I'm going to address during the next couple of hours.
Well, here's a couple of cures for hiccups which sound a lot more sensible than one you suggested.
Oh, yeah.
Ian in Rossendale has texted. He says the best tried and tested way is to hold your breath for as long as you can. Then when you can't hold it anymore, breathe out as slowly as you can, and it does work. Jamie in Birkenhead says, Mike and Porky, here's a way to get rid of hiccups. Get a pint of water and drink as much as you possibly can through a straw. Then that will get rid of the hiccups. I promise you 100% this works. And then another one from someone who called Asmo, who says a shot of vinegar cures hiccups every time.
A shot of vinegar?
Yeah, just a shot of vinegar.
Drink vinegar.
You've drunk everything else.
No, I'm not going to rise to that. Wasn't the last drink that Jesus ever had vinegar?
Eh?
Vinegar.
There was vinegar on a sponge.
Yeah, they put vinegar on a pole, didn't they? A sponge on a pole.
Yeah.
He begged for water, and the cruel individuals gave him vinegar, because vinegar makes you more thirsty, doesn't it?
I think so.
What a horrible thing to do.
Have you seen the time, by the way?
What a horrible, horrible thing to do.
Yeah, never mind
it's
about
no
all that.
wonder Christianity failed during those days, is it? With that
Well, it
sort of
didn't
behaviour.
really, did it?
You really got me going. You got me so I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, you really got me now.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mites. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Ian, the Sainsbury's driver, says, MG, if Porky comes in later with blisters on his lips, you'll know he's been sucking the exhaust pipe. And Darren, Spurs fan, says, hi, Mike. Mike Porky Parry, the animal lover? Question mark. He said cats are evil last week. If he loves animals, then why doesn't he promote Virunga instead of Broadchurch? It just missed out on an Oscar last night. Did you see the Oscars last night?
I saw a bit of it, but it's a most irritating programme on television. It goes on for hours and hours and hours of self-indulgent, self-appraised garbage, in my view.
Yes.
And then when people get these awards, and I'm delighted Eddie Redmayne got it, because he's an Eton boy,
yes.
and I know you despise and dislike public school boys.
No, I don't.
But I say that the more public school boys running this country, the better.
Yeah.
I'd rather have people from Eton running the country
I don't know why you were always sucking up to public school boys. Well, you're always sucking up to public school boys because you think they're better than you.
I don't want the Bash Street kids running England or Britain or the UK or whatever we call it these days, because I don't think it's right.
You'd rather have the Bullingdon boys, would you?
No, not the Bullingdon boys at all. But
well, that's
people
who you've got running it.
People
well,
go
that's
to
who
Eton
you've got running it.
and Oxford are usually, pretty intelligent people who know what they're doing.
Well, do you know what the Bullingdon boys are?
Of course I know what the Bullingdon boys are.
What school did they go to?
Well, they went to a lot of schools, but they all went to Oxford University, where the Bullingdon Club is.
Right.
Yeah. So you're asking me nonsense, because I'm telling you they all went to
public school.
That's not all of them.
Are there any of the Bullingdon boys who didn't go to public school?
Well, I don't know them all individually.
No, so
but
the answer is no.
Believe me, there could have been some high achievers there from state schools.
Yeah, but you bang on about it as if you went to a public school, which you didn't.
I did.
No, you did not.
Of course I did.
The King's School Chester was not a public school.
The King's School Chester is listed in what's called the Headmasters' Conference.
That doesn't make it a public school.
It certainly does.
It wasn't a fee-paying school, was it?
It certainly... And by the way...
Was it a fee-paying school?
Was it a fee-paying school?
Yeah.
Some of it was.
Some of it was.
Some of it was.
Did you pay to go there?
Well, I won a scholarship because I was very clever. What are you laughing at?
I don't know how they managed to slip that one through the net.
No.
What were you very clever at? What was your score on the 11 plus?
High.
Yes. Really?
Yes.
Did you actually take the 11 plus?
Yeah, I did take the 11
More
plus.
likely, if your father was anything like you, probably bribed somebody to get you in there. That's
Not
the
at
kind
all.
of thing you would do.
Not at all. Not only did I pass the 11 plus, I passed the King's School entrance exam because you had to pass both, and I got such
Did
a
you
high
get somebody
score.
to do it for you? Because that's normally what you would. That would be normally your MO.
No, don't be ridiculous. And I got such a high score that I got a scholarship.
Yeah.
So that freed my parents from the yoke of, financial...
But it's not a public school.
Punitive problems.
But it's not a public school.
Of course it's a public school.
Surely.
No.
I thought it was a grammar school.
No, direct grammar.
So that's a grammar school.
No, direct grammar means public. Believe me.
No, it doesn't.
Believe me, it does.
Now, the doctor in Mexico, who we haven't heard from for a while,
No, we haven't.
says, does Parry class himself as a naval historian, ? Well, there is only one way to check this, make it the quiz for Thursday. One of the things we have to do tonight is work out what the quiz is going to be on Thursday.
I've worked that out. I've got a suggestion from one of the listeners, the city of Chester.
The city of Chester?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I got a, and I can't remember who it is now, but I will get back to you with a reply. Thank you very much indeed.
The city of Chester.
Who it was, yes. That's right, because it's one of the most famous cities in the world.
Yeah.
It's a Roman city, a medieval city. It's also Porky Parry City.
Of course.
So,
well, you'll expect to get 10 out of 10 on that then, won't you?
Yeah, I certainly would, because I lived there for all of my life up to the age of 18.
Right.
Now then, the reason we played some Ray Davies music there was there's a new book out, Ray Davies. It's called Ray Davies, A Complicated Life, and it's a new book coming out. It's his first real life story.
Is it his own story? It's a biography?
It's, I'm just trying to...
Or was somebody else written it?
No, it is. I think he's had a ghostwriter, but I mean, it's basically his story in his words, you know what I mean? But it explains...
So it's an autobiography then?
What?
So it's an autobiography.
Autobiography, yes, you're right, yeah. But it does explain some difficult times. For instance, Ray had a breakdown. His family staged an intervention after which he took to his bed. When I performed to the Kinks' current hit, the current hit at the time was out on Top of the Pops, he immediately tried to pick up the television and put it in the gas oven. Then on St Patrick's... What are you laughing at?
Why would he do that?
I don't know, because he was having a mental breakdown.
Must have been a very big oven or a very small television.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, I thought that as well. Perhaps he had a huge oven, I don't know. Then on St Patrick's Day, he unexpectedly rose from his bed in a stage of agitation. I was a zombie. Excuse me, he said.
You're right there.
No, I'm not really. Sorry about that. I was a zombie.
You've got to get off that exhaust fumes. They'll cure.
Right, yeah. I've just been down in the break trying to get rid of my hiccups. I'd been on the go all the time from when we first made our first song in the Kinks, and I was completely out of my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I ran 6 miles from my home in Fortis Green. Where's Fortis Green?
Fortis Green is up in sort of North London, isn't it?
Is it? OK, yeah. To Tin Pan Alley in central London, where I confronted and attempted to punch my publicist, Brian Somerville. The next encounter was after I was chased from the premises, was with a music publisher, and I caused chaos in his office. Don't know what happened to me. I'd run into the West End with money stuffed in my socks. I don't know what I was going to do with it. I tried to punch my press agent. I was chased down Denmark Street. Now, that's in Soho, isn't it? Yeah.
That's when all the music publishers used to actually be in Soho.
Is that right? Yeah. By the police, hustled into a taxi by a psychiatrist and driven off somewhere I know not where. So he had a period when...
Of kind of madness.
Madness, yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, I suppose looking at some of those guys, and because nobody really knew what you were supposed to do to behave as a rock star, they just did what they thought they were supposed to do, which was to basically drink a load and take loads of drugs and go a bit mad.
I suppose you're right.
I'm not really that surprised.
No, I'm not that surprised. But were you with me when we interviewed Ray Davies in this very studio?
I don't think I was,
Could have been me, Andy Townsend.
Yeah.
And he came in, and he was absolutely stick thin. And
he's always been like that.
He has always been like that, but I mean, stick thin and white, you know. But he does say during the course of this book, as I've read some of the excerpts, that at one time he was given some antidepressant tablets. And he was told by his doctor, take one when you're feeling low. But because he felt low all the time...
He just took them all.
He took them all the time, yeah. And
well, that's the trouble with antidepressants. That's why people get hooked on them.
Yeah, that didn't do him any good or anything. But talking about... You just mentioned about me, my theory on breathing carbon monoxide to finish off your hiccups.
Yes.
Have you seen this big inquiry which is now going on into whether or not aeroplanes are actually poisoning and killing people from the air inside them?
I saw a report that said that the air inside aeroplanes could be possibly toxic.
Toxic, and that one pilot, they reckon, who works for a major international airline, they didn't name which one, is thought to have died from the toxicity of the air.
What do they think it is? Is it just because it keeps being recirculated, you mean?
No, they think what it is they think that planes are now, I don't know, built as they are, that emission from fumes basically from the fuel are now mixed in with the air conditioning, and that you're breathing in whatever airline fuel's made of. What's it? Kerosene.
Yeah, kerosene.
Or something like that all the time that you're in flight.
It wouldn't be terribly, a surprise, I suppose. I mean, how many times have you got off a plane and then felt really ill because there's some kind of, shared air that everybody's had for such a long time, particularly if you've been on a flight for a long time?
I don't think I've ever been ill getting off an aeroplane. I've
you
been
don't remember
intoxicated.
getting off any planes,
Well,
do you?
no, I agree with you. I drink on aeroplanes because I find that flights so boring. I mean, you can watch a film for an hour and then lose interest in it. You can listen to your headphones in the old days when we all got on planes with Sony Walkmans and all that, for an hour or two. You can read for a bit and all that kind of stuff. But I hate sleeping on aeroplanes. I just can't sleep on aeroplanes. I don't want to sleep on aeroplanes. To me, an aeroplane journey is an adventure, and I don't want to sleep at all.
Pathetic.
No, it is. I want to have a
pathetic.
few drinks, mix with people. If they're asleep, I wake them up to talk to them. And
God, I hate sitting next to you on a plane.
No. But I never get off a plane feeling.
There's nothing worse to me than
Yeah.
having a stranger that you're sitting next to start talking to you on a plane.
Yeah, most people like talking to me. Most people like talking to me.
Most
believe
people
me.
do not want to talk to you on a plane.
I feel usually,
Especially after you've been in the first class lounge for 3 hours before you got on.
That's a bit harsh. Certainly on a long haul flight, I always feel elated when I get there, because if you're going to America, you've saved yourself 5 hours, so you can leave here at 11 o'clock in the morning and still get there in time for a decent lunch in New York. That's not a problem. And if you're going the other way, if you're going to sort of Australia or something like that, it takes so long to get there.
Well,
you forget when you ever left.
But that all used to be the case before all the security got worse and before all the border controls got worse. Because now it used to be the case that you could get to Kennedy Airport and you'd be out in half an hour. Now it doesn't happen. Now you're waiting at least an hour and a half. You're waiting longer for your luggage. It's a nightmare. Now, anyway, here's an interesting statistic for you about the air on aeroplanes. Right,
go on.
Apparently, it was cleaner when people used to smoke on aeroplanes. You know why?
Because they used to filter the air?
They used to recycle it every 4 minutes. Now
Right.
they only have to recycle it every 6 minutes.
Oh, well, it doesn't seem like much of a...
Well, it might not seem like much to you, a man who spends half his life breathing in exhaust. But
No.
In actual fact, it's a very, very big difference.
But I read a horrifying
That's
report.
another 50% longer.
Yes, it is. You're right. I read a horrifying report over the weekend that, this air now... And it is kerosene fuel, and apparently it's all to do with the metals that they use in aeroplane construction these days. The sealants aren't as good as they used to be. The
That's
separation,
a bit of a worry on all sorts of levels. Isn't it?
the separation of oxygen supplies and kerosene fumes is no longer as good as it used to be. Like a lot of things. Like a lot of things in life, Mike, progress is not always a good thing.
Well,
Progress
in football,
for
it
instance.
is. Have you seen the time? I don't want to hear another story now.
Progress, for instance, in the retailing trade.
Yeah.
I mean, are you any good at the self-serving tills where you have to use barcodes?
The only
and all
people
that?
who aren't are old fuddy-duddies.
I totally agree.
I know why you're telling this
No,
story.
I'm good at them.
I read the piece too. But
I'm good at them.
We'll talk about that
I'm
coming
good at
up very, very shortly.
I'm
right
very
here
good.
on TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of
Certainly
course. Here's one from David in Essex, who I'm not sure
Yes.
whether he's saying this tongue-in-cheek. He's texted into 81089. He says, Mike, Royal Naval expert Porky could take his new girlfriend to Waterloo Square to show her the statue of Lord Nelson.
Good idea.
Well, I presume he means Trafalgar Square, doesn't he?
No, Waterloo Square is in Portsmouth.
Oh, is it?
On the edge near the city walls.
Oh,
well,
right.
near the defensive
Is
walls,
there a
actually.
statue of Lord Nelson
Yes, there is. Yes.
Oh, right.
I
in
mean,
addition to Nelson's column.
well, Nelson's column's in London.
Yeah, I know.
There's not a Nelson's column in
Well, how
Portsmouth.
many other statues of Nelson are there? Maybe that's a question for the naval quiz. Maybe we should hold on that.
There'll be a few. I think there's one in Egypt, for instance.
Is there?
Yeah.
Why is there one in Egypt?
Because of the Battle of Egypt.
Oh, right.
Which he won against, we beat the French every time we fired on them. Now, what I can tell you, Mike, is that the statue of Nelson down in Portsmouth is very close to the hotel where he had his last breakfast before setting off on the Victory.
I stayed in that hotel, didn't I? The Holiday Inn. I didn't know he stayed there.
No, you idiot.
Not the Holiday Inn.
No, not the Holiday Inn.
Well, where did he stay then?
We stayed in a local hotel, which was, a hotel which looked remarkably like a building from the early 1800s.
Oh, right.
Because it was the early 1800s when he set off to fight the
Did they
Battle
not have
of
Holiday Inns
Waterloo. No, they didn't have Holiday Inns then, you fool. And you're asking stupid questions now, and you're getting on
So Premier Inn instead.
you're getting on the audience's nerves for your complete idiotic attitude towards this.
Now, what I was going
to say is, hang on, excuse me, I haven't finished.
All right.
And when he came out of the hotel that morning, as he was about to depart for Waterloo, It was a bit like the Beatles getting off the aeroplane at Shea Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
There were literally thousands of people in the streets.
Yeah.
They wanted Bonaparte...
They didn't get off the airplane at Shea Stadium,
done.
of course, so just to be pedantic.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Get off the stadium
Kennedy.
in Kennedy in New York and for their concerts at Shea Stadium.
Yes.
And all I'm saying is, you've got to remember that military leaders in those days were treated just like pop stars.
Yeah.
They were the pin-up boys. And they were all, you know, literally outside his hotel, Boney, you know.
Boney?
Yeah, like
Boney doing?
kill Bonaparte. They wanted him to kill
I see.
Bonaparte and all this kind of
Talking
stuff.
about Wilfred
you know.
Boney there. I was getting a bit confused.
No. And they were all, you know, they were all literally chanting, you know, Horace, because they called...
Short for Horatio.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they called Horatio Horace, and all the fans were there, and they carried him shoulder high down to the what they call the hard.
Oh, yeah.
And the hard is where the gravel runs onto the sort of beach. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where the rowing boats come in. And he leapt in his rowing boat. He was rowed out to victory.
Yeah.
And as his ship sailed with thousands lining the harbour in Portsmouth, that was the last time we ever saw him alive.
Yeah,
Because, of
right.
course, he went off to Waterloo.
And then, of course, they wouldn't see anyone for months after that, would they? Because
No.
it would take them ages to come back.
Totally agree. Took 3 days for news of his death to get back to
Yeah.
England.
Now, I got this over the weekend,
Okay.
but it was apropos of your conversation earlier about the King's School Chester that I thought I'd better go and find it.
Right.
Peter, who's one of our listeners over in Scandinavia, sent this
Right.
in. He's been on.
Scandinavia?
He's a regular listener, but he's also been on the website of the King's School Chester.
Oh, yes.
And where it has a whole series of famous alma mater
Right.
characters, including Mike Parry.
That's right.
But it says no date afterwards, which I thought was kind of ironic because I
Yeah.
mean you don't normally get dates, do you?
Ah,
So presumably it doesn't
That's
say
so amusing.
when you were there. But
Yeah.
here's what it says.
Go on.
After graduating from Trent Polytechnic, he became a Fleet Street reporter.
Oh, no, you mean the University of the Trent?
it
They've
says,
got that wrong.
No, after graduating from Trent Polytechnic,
Right.
he became a Fleet Street reporter.
Okay.
Then had a spell as press officer with the Football Association.
Short one.
And later...
Director of Communications,
No, it
I
says
think
press
you'll find.
officer.
Yeah.
And later joined TalkSport, Talk Radio, later known as TalkSport,
Yeah.
as their breakfast time presenter until February 2011.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it is amazing,
So a
yes.
school that has a great reputation for getting everything right has said all those things,
Yes.
which you would dispute.
No.
You don't dispute them.
Well, I mean, just
So-
the detail.
so
I
you
was
don't
Director
dispute-
of Communications at the FA. I went to
They
the
say
University
press
of,
officer.
of the Trent. No, well, I got that wrong, haven't they?
Well, you're going to write to them and ask them to correct it.
Well, I'm not that fussy about it,
Really?
really, to be honest, you know.
I think I'm going to write to them and
I-
say, I think you may have got this wrong.
I don't get petty about those sort
Trent
of things.
Polytechnic.
Yes. Well, you know, we all know it's University of the Trent.
Well, it is now, but when you went there, it was Trent Polytechnic, which has always been my contention.
Yeah, but it's not now. It's not now, is it?
Well, it doesn't matter what it is now.
If somebody said to you, who do we work for now, you'd say Talk Sport.
Yes.
When I started in the broadcasting business,
Yeah.
this was Talk Radio.
Yeah.
So what do I describe it as now?
Well, so when you went to work for Talk Radio, that's who you worked for.
Yes.
Now you work for Talk Sport.
Exactly.
Right. So when you went to Trent Polytechnic, you went to Trent Polytechnic.
Yeah, but
you
I-
didn't go to Trent, University of the Trent. You didn't get called that then.
No, but it's the University of the Trent now.
Doesn't
and
matter.
I can't say to people, oh, I graduated from Trent Polytechnic. A, there's no polytechnics left. B,
Right.
people don't know what a polytechnic is.
I do.
And C, the University of the Trent is now an extremely established and successful academic institution.
Well, it may well be.
And one that people are proud to be a member of.
I see. But I just think that, for example, if you drove a car which is no longer made by, I don't know, Mini, say you bought a Mini Clubman,
Yes.
which was made in the old days by Austin, right?
Yes.
Would you call it an Austin Mini Cooper or an Austin Mini Clubman? Or would you say, of course, it was owned by BMW then, so it was actually a BMW Mini?
What a ridiculous and irrelevant question.
It's not irrelevant.
What's that got to do with my education?
Well, because you're claiming that Trent Poly wasn't called Trent Poly.
Anyway, talking about education,
Yeah.
I want to educate you in
There's
something.
a lot of great pictures coming in of you with your face covered in exhaust.
What? Well, look, I try to be helpful to people.
Yeah.
They start taking the mickey.
Right.
That could save somebody. I mean, one chap had hiccups for 11 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got a good one here,
He's
actually.
in the Guinness Book of Records.
I've got a good one here from a guy who says where is he? He's in the Caribbean, I think. Says they've got a particularly good cure for hiccups in the Caribbean.
What do
Let's
they
see.
do?
In Jamaica, he says we get a small piece of string and wet it with the tongue, then place it on the forehead. and that's an easy cure for hiccups.
They sit on the forehead?
Yeah.
How can I possibly cure your hiccups?
That sounds a bit unusual, doesn't
It's
it?
very mad indeed. Listen, I want to tell you about a new scandal I've come across. It's about elephants.
Oh, yeah.
And it's Susie, Indian elephant in India, 65 years of age, worked almost to her death, literally, over all the years that she's been alive. The poor thing's been tortured.
Well, doing what?
Well, all sorts of things. Working in circuses, performing at all sorts of ceremonial dues. One thing that apparently really wears these elephants down are, being used in fairgrounds to give children rides and all that because they work so many hours of the day on different shifts, with different
I've been on
keepers.
an elephant. I was on an elephant in India.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
you see, that's very cruel.
Why is it cruel?
Well, because you're working the poor elephants to death.
I was taken up to some big sort of palace that was up a mountain. And the only way to get up the mountain was to go on the back of an elephant.
Well, I can't speak for that individually.
Somewhere in Rajasthan, I think.
Well,
Now, you said
but no, what I'm saying
you
is,
told us the other day that elephants are very good at finding medicine for each other. And some people,
yeah,
would
but
rather,
they can't if they're kept prisoner in isolation, which
rather
this one is.
laughingly saying
Her
that you
name's
should...
Susie. She's got.
Excuse me, do you mind if I interrupt you for
Well,
a
I'm
second?
trying to tell you about this elephant, and
Well,
you
seem
don't want to
be
know.
struggling to find the details.
I'm not. Battle to Save Susie's
That's all
site.
exhaust.
Yeah, Battle to Save Susie's site highlights plight of India's tortured elephants. After a lifetime of suffering in the circus, Susie, a half-blind elephant, now enjoys a luxury routine of daily baths and long walks in the wild North Indian countryside. But aged 65, Susie arrived here last week at the Elephant Conservation and Care Centre in Mathura in the state of Uttar Pradesh, joining 8 others freed from horrific abuse.
So she's all right then?
No,
Well,
she's
you just
blind
said
in one
she's-
eye and going blind in another. And we need to raise £17,000 to give her a cataract operation
Well, why don't you
on
just-
her right
Why
eye.
don't you just give them 17 grand then?
Well, I'm gonna make a donation. I'm telling you, I'm making a
There's a
donation.
cataract where there's a race course up in Yorkshire.
Oh, you see, you're so unkind. A cataract, as you
said
well know,
cataract.
as you well know, I did not say that.
Yes, you
is something that forms underneath the lens of the eyeball and restricts vision.
Well, it's not great if you're trying to be a human. I don't suppose if you're an elephant it makes much difference, does it?
Of course it does. It's
Why?
a terrible thing because elephants, like humans, need to be able to see where they're going so they don't damage or harm themselves and so that they can have a greater quality of life.
Yeah.
Now, I'm very concerned about this elephant, Susie. I've got a picture. Have you got a picture of her?
Yeah, I have
I'm
got
going
a
to send you a
picture.
picture. Would you
I'll-
send that
I'll
out, please?
send it out, yeah.
Would you send it out to our listeners? And I want them to become aware and see if we can raise...
Are you asking them to come up with some money for you? For your ridiculous
I'm not asking
scheme?
them to come up with money
not.
for me.
No.
What I'm saying is, please have a look and just see what your conscience tells you. I will definitely make a donation to see if I can help elephants. Elephants are wonderful creatures. They're nearest
Well,
things
exactly.
to humans.
I mean, if the elephant is already in this sanctuary, what do you want to do with it?
I've told you to operate on its eyes.
No, ridiculous.
One of its eyes is blinded because a keeper hit it with a hook that went into its eye. It's a horrible, horrible story. And we've got to do all we can to help this poor elephant. Elephants have almost human feelings and they cry. Elephants can cry.
Can they?
Yeah, they can. And they're the only sort of mammal creature that we know that cries. But I think monkeys cry as well, don't they?
I've
Do
no
monkeys
idea.
cry? I think they do.
They probably do.
I
Well, what
think
about
they
that
do.
monkey that's in the Chester Zoo? You don't want to get rid of that one, do you? You don't want to save that one.
Well, that's a macaw. That wasn't a monkey, that was a macaw.
That's a macaque, actually.
Macaque, that's what I'm
Macaws
talking about.
over
Yeah.
in China.
Yeah, we've still got our monkey in New York, still in the cage,
Yeah.
Tommy.
So don't you think you're taking on a bit too much
No,
here?
no. I must expend all the energy I can to make the lives of these poor creatures more tolerable. That's what I say.
Here's a couple of good texts that have come in. Steve
Okay.
in Rochester says, Porky, how could Nelson have set off for Waterloo in 1815 when he died in 1805?
It was
Just a thought.
1805. I said early 1800s.
Well, you said
1805.
1815, I think.
No, 1815 was the Battle of Trafalgar. And, no, hang on, let's get this the right way round. 1805 was the Battle of Trafalgar, in
Yeah.
which Nelson lost his life.
Yeah.
1815 was the Battle of Waterloo,
Yeah.
in which the Duke of...
You're thinking of Wellington.
Wellington, thank you, Duke of Wellington, finally saw off Bonaparte.
Yeah,
That's
well, here's
right.
one from David in Essex. He says, Porky has done it again. Lord Nelson didn't win the Battle of Waterloo.
No, he won the Battle of Trafalgar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he's in Trafalgar Square.
Yeah, but-
why is he in Waterloo Square?
What?
You said he was in Waterloo Square.
I didn't say that. You
Yes, you
said
did.
that. No, you said that.
And I said, why, surely he means Trafalgar Square, and you said, no, Waterloo Square in Portsmouth.
No. What I meant was he meant Portsmouth,
Yeah.
not London. That's what I meant.
I see.
Okay.
But there is no Waterloo Square in Portsmouth then.
Well, there is definitely a statue of Nelson.
Where is it, though?
It's down near the. I've told you, it's down near the walls.
Well, is there a Waterloo Square in Portsmouth?
Well, I don't know Portsmouth that well, that
Really?
intimately.
Well, you live there.
No, and I don't. I live on Gosport, the other side of the water.
Here's one from Michael in Gosport who says, "Hi, Mike, good show. You must love having Billy Liar next to you." Good old Porky.
Billy Liar, it's a bit harsh.
Here's one that's even harsher, actually, if you think that's bad. Paul in Birmingham. He says, "When Parry dies, all his lies and dirty deeds will be exposed, and everyone will know what a backstabbing charlatan he really was."
How can you say that? How can anybody say that?
Well, because you're always telling porkies. That's why.
No, I'm not. That's an absolute
Porky.
rubbish. I've never been caught out in anything I've told anybody because I haven't actually told anybody a mistruth.
You tell the truth all the time, don't you?
I do, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I dedicate my life to telling the truth because I realise that the first time I
Your air?
from the straight and narrow and start fabricating things about myself, there'll be some listener out there a lot more on the ball than me, a lot cleverer than me, a lot more knowledgeable than me, who will pick me up on it.
Seems
so I
hard
don't
to
do
believe. I know that, doesn't it? Now, Liz is not very happy with you. She says, "How very dare you give your telephone number to some floozy? I thought I was the love of your life."
Well, I wasn't giving it to a floozy. It was a lady who was interested in British naval architecture, and I have some outstanding literature on the subject, and I was just trying to help. That's all.
Okay.
There was no underhanded or what you might call grubby sort of...
well, as I said, I can't reveal the chat-up line because it's too disgraceful.
Well, there weren't any chat-up lines. I mean, you're just teasing the audience now. Now, listen, I know we've got to go for a break in a minute, but you talk about making things up, all right. Now, do you remember that...
You're trying to change the subject
No,
now,
I'm not. You know the TV guy in America who lost his job because he said he was on a helicopter.
With Brian Williams?
Yes.
Has he lost his job? I thought they just suspended him.
Well, OK, suspended him then. What was his name again? Brian Williams.
Brian Williams, yeah.
Yeah, rocket-propelled grenade, he said, hit his helicopter, and he didn't, because the guy who was the pilot said, "I don't remember you being on my helicopter." Do you know what he suffers from?
What? Porky liardom.
No. This Brian Williams, it was a case of pseudologia fantastica.
That's what you suffer from. That's what you've got.
No.
You have. You're the other sufferer in the world.
This is often described as...
Pseudologia fantastica.
Pseudologia fantastica.
That's brilliant.
It's often defined as an elaborate and often fantastic account of exploits that is false, but the teller believes to be true.
But that's exactly what you've got. That's tremendous. We finally found out what's wrong with you.
No, and listen, I've got a lot more to tell you about this and where it all came from and how it all happened.
Is it not just a fancy name for being a pathological liar?
No, it's not. Hillary Clinton fell for it. Remember when she said that she got off her helicopter?
Well, her plane was said to be under fire as well, wasn't it?
No, apparently as she landed and got off the plane, she came under sniper fire and had to cower down and run for cover and all this. And again, the people who were with us said, "No, that never happened.
Yeah.
We didn't see that happen. It's fantastica pseudologia." No, it's not. It's pseudologia fantastica.
That's what you've got.
No, I'll tell you all about it in a minute.
Incredible. Graham, the doctor in Mexico, says, "But Mr. Parry, the Battle of Egypt, there is no such battle. It's called the Battle of the Nile."
That's right, that was the one. But it was in Egypt. It was in Egypt.
And also we've got a correction on Portsmouth. Paul says, "Waterloo Square in Portsmouth, what are you talking about? Nelson's statue is on Grand Parade."
There you go. See, I knew it.
Absolutely. What is it? Scatological fantastica?
No.
Pathological liar.
Pseudologia fantastica.
Yeah. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes. Now, what you were talking about just before the news there, fascinating to me. I need to write this down.
Yes.
Because Brian Williams, the anchor for CBS News, I think it is, who's been suspended for 6 months for making up a story about being fired out in his helicopter, is suffering from what is it called?
Pseudologia fantastica. Now, this is something which apparently affects American people more than most.
Really?
Do you know why?
Why? Because they like boasting about things they've never done.
No.
Well, tell me.
Excuse me, sorry.
Have you been at the exhaust again?
Yeah. Right. The point is that the philosophy of the Americans is that over centuries people have emigrated to America partly as an act of personal reinvention, right?
Yeah.
To start
you
life...
went there for that, didn't you?
Well, sort of. To start life all over again. And the US culture itself regards such a transformation as easily possible and in many cases desirable.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you go there and you've been a villain somewhere else, if you've been an Italian gangster or something like that, come to America and go straight and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we knew lots of people, to be fair, when we were there, who would go there and begin a new life, and their past, for example, would not have in any way kind of chased after them because nobody knew who to ask.
No, that's
and if you went there and said, "Oh, yeah, I used to do this in England," they would just go, "Oh, yeah, OK, then."
That's right. I mean, lots of Australians turned up there, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
You know, they'd had sort of in different sort of careers and lives and all that kind of stuff. Now, apparently, there's something called the Tiny Buddha Programme. Do you know about this?
I don't know.
The Tiny Buddha Programme has a website and it declares recreate your life story, change the script and be a hero.
Yeah.
This will empower you to be the person you want to be, regardless of who and what and where you've been before. Click to the Add to Cart button below. You'll get immediate access to introductory course material, the members-only forum, and over $150 in bonus tools to become the hero of your own life story. So this is encouraging.
Well, you don't need to
America.
do that because you've already done that.
This is encouraging.
You've
America,
already done
okay?
that. You've already kind of, scripted yourself into certain situations where perhaps you may not have been.
Hang on. The problems arise when others notice.
You didn't
that
listen to that bit at all,
Yes,
did you?
I did. Yes, I did.
No,
yes.
I can tell when you're not paying attention.
Yes, I did, but time is short. The problems arise when others notice that the changing of the script does not tally with the facts, and those in public life are the most likely to be caught out. Williams's humiliation is uncannily similar to that experienced by Hillary Clinton during her run for the presidency in 2008, which might have ended her run for the presidency.
Yes, it might have done, and she's having another go, though, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, yeah.
But all of that stuff will get dredged up again, and they'll accuse her of making claims. I never understand why politicians make claims which they know that can't actually be stood up, because if anybody bothers to go and check... I mean, it's a bit like that great story about the Archbishop of Canterbury last week. Do you remember when he came out and he said, companies should start paying people a decent living wage?
Yeah.
Absolutely disgraceful that people are not being paid
and then
properly.
they found out that half the people working at his palace.
Yeah, but also working for the Church of England around the country are all getting paid less than the minimum wage.
That's right, yeah, I know.
Because that's what journalists do. They tend to go and find the truth, which is why I'm so surprised that in your case, you've invented so much of stuff around you.
I've never invented anything about myself.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
You
I
have
haven't.
so.
I've not made any claims to have done things that I haven't done.
Well, let's not talk about the last
Ever.
interview with Rudolf Nureyev then.
Rudolf Nureyev and I were the only people in the room.
Yeah, I know.
How can you possibly claim that I didn't speak to him?
Well, because he's dead and I can't ask him.
No, of course he's dead and you can't ask him, but why do you suspect me of having been such a villainous
Because it's the sort of thing you would have done.
Individual.
It's the sort of thing you would have
It's not the sort
done.
of thing I do. I don't take advantage of people who are dying in front of me.
No, of course not.
Wicked thing to say.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Now, here's a tweet from Man City Army on somebody the elephant.
Okay.
Why doesn't he just give it his glasses?
I will actually see very unkind, very cruel, very trite. In fact, it's the first thing you said outside. It's what you said outside.
Well, no, I said, why don't you just go down to Boots and get his eyes
No, you didn't. You
sorted out
said
by
send
the
him to
pharmacist.
Specsavers.
Yeah.
You said send him to Specsavers, which is a callous, cruel and ignorant response
but this is you
to the
once
suffering
again.
of an animal.
No, this is you once again claiming to be the seeker of truth and justice, the saviour of all animals, despite the fact that you poisoned or would like to have poisoned the dogs on your street with ammonia on the trees to stop them from...
I didn't poison them, I just made
doing
them.
their business there.
I made them
despite
go
the fact
and...
Despite the fact that you called for a cull of all cats because they all had TB, despite the fact that you've also called for a cull of various sort of exotic animals on the grounds that they're not any use to anybody.
Well, look, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. We were talking the other night about the white rhino.
White rhino, but you've said it about giraffes, you've said it about tigers. What difference would it make if nobody ever saw one again?
No.
So don't try and pretend that you're some kind of, man, Dr. Doolittle.
No. I have compassion for animals, but all I'm saying is I don't know why people worry about the extinction of the white rhino, because, A, most of us have never seen one. In fact, I would say nearly 100% of the population of the world has never seen a white rhino. Those who have not been particularly overwhelmed. A white rhino looks like a black rhino, except it's a different colour. And the third point is, why would you waste massive resources trying to save a white rhino when there's so much else in the world that we've got to get sorted?
You might make the same
like
argument
on the
about,
very same continent, children who don't have clean water to drink.
You might make the same argument about this elephant Susie, because at the end of the day, as sad as the story may be, people might have better things to do with their money.
It is voluntary donations, though, here. By the way, what's Netflix?
Netflix?
Yes.
It's an online streaming service that provides you with television shows and films. It's great, actually.
Now,
Why? Do you want to get onto it?
Well, in my role, of course, as Porky Vision TV reviewer later in the week, I'm aware of the fact that the House of Cards Series 3 is coming up.
Oh, it does, the end of this week, I think.
Is that the end of this week?
Yeah.
And
it's very good as well. Have you not seen it?
No. I've seen the English version, obviously.
Well, that was ancient, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course it was. And what happened was, I looked at this and thought, it'd be nice to have seen the first two series, and I found out that they are both available on Netflix.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Although you can buy the DVDs, I believe.
Where'd you buy them, though?
Well, in any place that sells them.
Yeah, I know, but not many places sell DVDs anymore.
Well, if you can't find them, surely you can go to there's an HMV shop I know of in Canary Wharf.
There are no HMV shops left.
Aren't there?
No.
I'm sure there's one in Canary Wharf.
Well, if there are, there's only a few.
Right, well, there's one in Canary Wharf.
Used to be one at Victoria Station in London, one of London's biggest stations. Right. I used to drift in there, and I've got more useless LPs and DVDs and CDs.
Well, it's been a long time since you buy an LP there.
over the years, well, you know what I mean, CDs, DVDs and all that kind of stuff. I've got more useless ones than
Do you
anybody
find
in
yourself
history.
buying sort of DVDs and CDs that you wish you hadn't bought because you're sometimes going through there in a state of inebriation?
No, that's not the case. It's just that I'm determined, for instance, that I must listen to Radiohead. So I go and buy the complete series of Radiohead
complete
CDs.
series?
But I've never unwrapped the cellophane off them.
Really?
So I haven't listened to them yet.
Goodness me.
I bought George Harrison's great triple LP, All Things Must Pass, because I had the original
Yeah,
when
I
was a kid.
downloaded that.
Yeah, did you?
And then you've got it all and you can listen to it on your information device.
Yes, I can. Yes, that's right.
There's apparently an HMV in Covent Garden still. There's one in Oxford Street.
Is there? I didn't know that.
Smiths sell the stuff as well, don't they?
Smiths, do they?
Yeah, I'm pretty
okay,
sure.
I think they do. Yeah,
There's
I think
a big
you're right.
Smiths
yeah.
on Victoria Station as
Oh,
well,
there's
isn't
plenty of Smiths all over the place. You should sell them.
Well, anyway, but I mean, I
yeah.
would recommend Netflix to you because it's very good.
Yeah. So what happens then? What is Netflix?
So what you do is you subscribe basically to Netflix.
Well, how do you find it?
Well, you find it online.
Oh, you find it online. I see.
You find
right.
it online. Have you got
Okay.
smart TV? Or is it just as stupid as you are?
Why
I
can't,
just quite
you
like
know,
that one.
Did
Or does
you?
your television
Yeah.
suffer from pseudologica fantastica?
No, it doesn't. And I've got a very decent television.
Right. Well, is it a smart TV, though? Is it hooked up to the internet?
Yes, of course it is.
Is it? Are you sure?
No.
You're not sure?
Not sure,
Because
no.
it might not be. I mean, you're
I
only
don't think it
relatively...
is, actually.
Right.
If it's
So-
hooked up to the internet, I could use it like a computer, couldn't I?
You could, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't use it
But
as a
if you get
computer.
yourself a smart TV, which you should get now, because that's what everybody's got.
Yes.
It means that it's
I
actually...
thought I had one, actually.
Well, you may have one. But
Well,
it means...
if I haven't, I'll get one.
All right, go get one. And what it means is, because they're a lot cheaper now than they were even a year ago.
Yeah.
And what it does is, it means that you can watch things like BBC iPlayer,
Yeah.
and you can watch things like ITV Player,
Okay.
all on the TV screen. You
And
don't have
how
to
do you
watch
connect it to the internet?
Well, it's got a modem, basically, like the same way a computer is. It works on Wi-Fi. So if you've got Wi-Fi
Oh, I
in the
see.
house, right?
Yeah, I've got
You know what
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi is, do you?
Yeah, of course I do,
You have
yeah.
got Wi-Fi in the house.
Well, if I've got a laptop that gives me Google and the
Yeah.
internet, then I must have Wi-Fi.
You must have
mustn't I?
Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
unless you're using a dongle. You know, the
dongle?
thing that sticks in the side like a little stick.
No.
So you've got Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I've got Wi-Fi.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens then is you go on. If you get a smart TV, then there'll be a little kind of Netflix app which will be there.
Yeah, of course I've got Wi-Fi. It's a white box given to me by Sky.
That's a router.
Yeah, well that's it.
Yeah,
isn't
so
it?
you've got that there.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when basically you would sign into Netflix, you have to subscribe. So you
Right.
pay them. I think it's about $6.99 a month.
That's not much.
It's not much at all. And all you then get is you get a whole load of you get lots of old TV shows actually you can watch you'd like.
Yeah.
And you also get like entire box sets of things that you can look at.
Do you know
and
what?
loads of movies. Last night, funnily enough, I
Yeah.
came across, which I haven't seen yet, is Zero Dark 30, that film about the killing of Osama bin Laden, which is brilliant. And I started watching it last night, but it got very late, and it's nearly 2.5 hours long, so I've only watched half of it.
How much is it a month?
About £7.
Well, do you know what? Recently, I was going home via Victoria Station.
Yeah.
And actually, I think I was with you.
Were you?
We were going to Crystal Palace.
Really?
And we
Well,
went
we weren't
into,
going home then.
No, we went into the Slow Bar. Do you remember down near the barriers?
Oh, yeah.
As we got here.
Yeah.
And I had my first glass of wine of the day.
You did?
And it cost you £7.80.
I think you did, yeah.
So £7.80 for a glass of wine at Victoria Station in London, and only £7 for a monthly subscription
Yeah.
to Netflix. That
Yeah.
sounds like a bargain.
Yeah, it does.
That sounds like a great bit of business, that.
And also, but you'll need, if you're going to start, and also if you don't, the great thing about it is if you don't watch it when it's first coming out,
Right.
you can watch it any time after that. You watch it whenever
so
you
it's
want
a
to.
recall station as well.
Recall,
Total recall.
recall.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well,
yeah.
it means that the stuff is there and you can watch it any time you want.
This is excellent.
I can't believe you haven't got it.
Well, I'll subscribe to it.
Maybe
I
I'll
wasn't
buy
sure
it
what
for you
was.
for a Christmas present.
Oh, like it's £7 a month?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thanks very much. Yeah.
Well, you can pay the rest of it. I'll pay you the first month.
Exactly, yeah, £7.
wrong with that?
What a miserable...
quite generous.
A miserable cur
Well, it's
you
better
are.
than the free sausage you gave me and the crappy chocolate that you
It
handed
weren't,
over.
it weren't free. It weren't free.
You won them in a raffle.
Yeah, but I had to pay for the raffle ticket.
Right. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. Look into the light. Rubbish.
Why do you find it rubbish?
Well, I can't imagine why he would. There's so much on there that you would want to see, I would have thought.
Well, if House of Cards is on there
House
alone...
of Cards is
and
on
I
there,
paid
Homeland's on
£7
there.
a month.
Homeland's on there, which you
So-
haven't seen. Breaking Bad is on there, which you haven't
Yeah,
seen.
Breaking Bad, what's that about?
Breaking Bad is just well, I can't tell you what it's about, but it's
Yeah.
just a brilliant TV show
Yeah,
about a teacher in a high school who finds out he's got terminal cancer and decides to become a meth dealer as a way of saving enough money up so that when he dies, not only does he pay for his medical treatment, but his family still have plenty of money left over. But he becomes this incredible
weird
kind
plot.
of massive drug dealer, basically.
Right, OK, I must have a look at all those. And they're all on Netflix, are they?
And they're all on Netflix, yeah.
Excellent, good. Now, that train thing, right, what worries me is I've been reading over the weekend that there is a plan afoot to see whether or not they're going to ban alcohol on trains,
Yeah.
all alcohol. in the same way that smoking is banned
What, you
on
mean
trains.
you can't even bring your own alcohol?
Can't even bring your own alcohol on. Do you know why it is?
Well, because people don't know how to control themselves, probably.
Well, no, it's worse than that. It's because getting off the trains, people keep falling between the train and the platform and killing themselves, literally.
Really?
Yeah.
That can't happen very often,
The
surely.
extraordinary measure to ban alcohol on trains has been proposed by the Rail Safety Watchdog after 18 people, that's 18, were killed and almost 250 were seriously injured over the past 5 years after falling from trains or platforms.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Many incidents involved intoxicated travellers.
Yeah. But the trouble is, of course, once again, they're using a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Of course
because
they are.
most of the people who are getting on trains in that kind of state will not have been drinking on the train. They'll have been drinking somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are they going to do? Stop drunk people getting on a train?
Well, you're absolutely right, because you know what, like on a Friday nights now, I mean, we saw it when we went down to Palace. I said to you, didn't I? I said, there's a couple of bars at Victoria Station.
Yeah.
There's a sports bar and grill, which is a lovely bar, sports bar. People go to watch football. There's a Wetherspoon, so that's,
Which was rammed full of people, by the way.
Rammed full of people.
And it wasn't even midday.
It wasn't even midday, but very attractively priced beers and wines and things. Then there was the Slow Bar, which is very expensive. The
So why is
traveller who's
it
got a
called the
bit more
Slow
money.
Bar?
SLOE, so
What,
it's
as
the
in
stuff
slow
that goes
gin?
into gin, and something like that. There's a hotel which has an entrance onto Victoria Station, which has got a cocktail bar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're absolutely right. Loads of people get to the station on a Friday night and then don't get out of the station until 3 hours later, and they are absolutely plastered.
Yeah, no, but I'm sure the main protagonists of this kind of drinking are not people who are drinking, either in the station or even on the train. I mean, they're drinking wherever they drink. And
Yeah,
then they
you're
get on
right.
a train.
Yeah, you're right. I know what you mean.
Does that mean that even when they have like dining cars and they have first-class restaurants and all of that, they're going to have no booze?
Well, apparently so. And as you quite rightly say, you're hitting the wrong people. What you should do is have breathalyzers for people getting on the train, not getting off, shouldn't you?
Well, then
you're
what do
quite
you do?
right.
What happens if you get breathalyzer not allowed on a train?
Well, that's tough luck,
Well, yeah, but they'd have to have some kind of holding tank for them, wouldn't they?
No, just say you're not
Well, you
getting
can't just
on,
leave
pal.
them there at the station.
Of course you can.
Because it would create some kind of public order issue, wouldn't it?
Well, there wouldn't
So
be
you
too
don't
many
think
of
these
them.
things through.
Yeah,
You're not
opponents...
thinking it through.
Hang on, opponents say a ban, one of a number of ideas put forward in a report by the Rail Safety and Standard Board. They sound like a right bunch of pen pushers, don't they? The Rail Safety and Standard
Well, I
Board.
suppose they're in charge of safety on the railways, so it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, but they've got this all wrong. We've just discovered that. Would unfairly penalise the thousands of rail users who drink moderately on journeys.
Well, when you get on you don't probably travel that much up on a train from Portsmouth, but presumably have they got a buffet car on that train?
No.
Or have they got a guy with a trolley?
You go, guy with a trolley.
Because on the train down to Hastings, they
Yes.
used to have a guy with a trolley.
Yes.
And then suddenly they announced that couldn't happen anymore because they couldn't pay for it.
Oh, I see.
And then the guys themselves decided to start their own trolley service and said only if enough people use it will we keep it going.
Right.
And I don't know whether it's still used now.
Well,
or further changed.
it's quite simple to me. If I fancy a drink on the train,
Yeah.
because I know exactly what I can get in Whistle Stop, that's one of the places on stations, isn't
Yes.
it? I go in there, I buy a bottle of wine of the sort I want, like Pinot or something, get a
Yeah.
couple of plastic glasses, and I go and sit on the train, and I'm fine. And when the guy comes round, I say, no, I'm all right, thank you. And you've probably bought it for half the cost
Do
anyway.
they not object to you doing that, though?
No, they can't object. They don't object at all.
Bit like bringing your own food on, I suppose.
Yeah, it is, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
People bring on some horrendous things onto trains, food-wise, don't they?
Disgusting. That should be banned.
Hot food as well.
Yeah, hot food, disgusting on trains. It should be banned off the streets and off trains.
Kebabs.
Kebabs are
I
disgusting.
saw a guy eating a curry once on a train.
What?
I saw a guy eating a curry
Oh,
once. He's got a takeaway curry.
Oh.
I'll tell you what I noticed, actually. There was a very weird one. I meant to mention this on Friday night.
Right.
When I would take the overground train up to
Yes.
Highbury Islington from where I live to get to the Head and Chickens, there was a guy on the train, on the phone, ordering a Chinese takeaway. But you could tell by what he was ordering that he was only going to be eating it by himself on a Friday night. And I thought to myself, if I was in that situation and you didn't want people to think you were some sad guy that was going to be staying in on a Friday night on your own eating Chinese food,
Right.
you wouldn't be ordering it in front of like 50 other people, would you?
Well, what do you mean? He ordered like one spring roll? And
Well, you could tell that he was only ordering for one person.
Right. Well, it wouldn't bother me. I have no shame in
that's 'cause
saying
you
to
do that all the
people-
time.
Well, yeah, maybe I do. But I mean, what
For you, it's no change, is it? Every Friday's like that.
do you not realise, mate, that half the world now is single? There are more people living in single what do you call it?
Dwellings,
single dwellings.
Single occupancy.
Yeah, than ever before, nearly 50%.
Yeah.
And that's because of a much higher divorce rate. It's because of people putting off marriage until nearly 30s now, where it used to be sort of mid-20s and all that kind of stuff. It's also down to the fact that the institution of marriage now doesn't turn everybody on.
Yeah.
It's also down to the fact that people have alternative lifestyles, i.e., many more people are happy these days.
From pseudologica fantastica.
Yeah.
Is it pseudologia?
Pseudologia
fantastica.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Here's one from somebody called Derek, who says,
Right.
every time Porky rambles, he says, and all that kind of stuff, fine him £1 each time, and that will pay for the elephant's operation.
What are you talking about?
Well, you do say all that kind of stuff quite a lot.
No, I don't.
You do?
I don't.
You do? Actually, I was listening to one of the podcasts, and there's one night where, in a sentence, you say it 3 times.
What?
All that kind of stuff.
Do I?
Yeah.
I'm not aware of that. No, I'm not aware of
Well, I'm
that.
trying to help you out here.
Right, here, I've just hit on the point that you have just made, okay?
Yeah, go on.
I'm praising you here. Right. Last night, pop impresario and robo enthusiast Pete Waterman. We've seen Pete Waterman, haven't we? And I think he's got his own train in his back garden.
He has, yeah.
Literally,
He's a massive train enthusiast.
Yeah. Hit out the proposed alcohol ban, saying it's not passengers drinking on the train who are to blame. He said most alcohol is not drunk on trains. It's
Well,
people
that's what I
coming.
just said.
I was about to. I said this. I said I was praising you for it. It's people coming out of office parties and abusing staff. 99% of passengers drink responsibly. It would be lunacy to ban alcohol on the entire network just because of a few problems on platforms. The answer is to stop drunks from entering the station in the first place.
Well, that's very, very true. Once again, they're using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, and they're actually going after the wrong people.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Drink has been available on trains in this country for the past 180 years.
Yeah.
When Britain's first intercity line into London between Euston and Birmingham opened in 1838, a buffet was laid on at Wolverton Station, the halfway point on the 5.5-hour journey, so the passengers could obtain refreshments.
I used to take some very, very curious trains home when I was working at the Express and going back to Wiltshire on a Friday night, and you'd take like the last train out to Paddington.
Yes.
And sometimes I'd just stand in the buffet car. And, the number of people who were getting absolutely, lassoed before they got on that train. I was coming pretty much straight from work, so I was usually quite sober.
Sure.
But, it was incredible having a train full of drunks.
I remember once coming back from Newcastle to Chester.
Oh, yeah.
When I was a trainee reporter, know, and I'd been in a training course up in Newcastle. And there were about 4 of us all together. And the train was packed and couldn't get a seat, so we stood in the buffet car.
Yeah.
I remember we got mortified in drink because the only space in this buffet car was at the bar.
That's right, at the bar, yeah.
At the bar, at the corner of the bar. And, we got talking about work and like that. For some unknown reason, the train was delayed. It took about 4 hours.
Yeah.
And our journey should have taken...
time.
Yeah, it should have taken about 2.5 hours or something like that. But, I mean... I was lucky. I was still standing when we got to Chester, but 2 of the others had to be carried off the train. No, it was, but it was a glorious drinking session because it was so different to standing in a pub. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the
there's
scenery.
something very good about it.
Yeah, with the scenery through the window changing every 5 minutes. I mean, some of our friends in New York over the years that we were there, their downfall was the bar car on the way home. Wasn't
That's right. Yeah.
Because A, they didn't make it home, or B, they eventually drank
just decided
themselves
to
to
stay
death.
on the train till the end of the line.
Stay on the train till the end of
I
the line.
once got on a train when I first, the only one and only time I went to Aberystwyth as a sort of grown up. Anyway, I think I went there as a kid a few times to have a look at their university. I almost was going to go there, and the only way to get there was via Wolverhampton and Shrewsbury, right?
Golly.
And so I had to come back to Shrewsbury. Got on the
civilization ends at Shrewsbury.
Only a single track line as well, so you had to wait for the train to come in and go back out again.
Yeah.
And got to Wolverhampton to catch the main line train coming down the west coast, and he'd come from Glasgow, and the train had been drunk dry. The only thing they had left was 1 can of Guinness.
Right.
That was it. So that was all I could have.
What, for the whole journey
For
from
the whole
Wolverhampton
journey
to
from
London?
Wolverhampton to London.
Shocking.
The guy said, no, we've had quite a few Scotsmen on, I'm afraid,
Yeah,
and
well,
they've drunk the train dry.
You would. Mr. Brazil and I were on a train once going to somewhere like Newcastle or
He
Edinburgh.
seems like a guy that would bring his own with him.
No, he didn't actually. What happened was we had a few drinks in the station, then we got on the train and we went to the dining car because we decided we were going to have a proper lunch. Now, the thing is, that train left London King's Cross and at somewhere like, I think it was York,
Yeah.
this guy got on with a woman who definitely wasn't his wife. It was his mistress. He was a businessman, and this woman was his mistress. She was younger and all that kind of stuff, And we were going up to Edinburgh, that's right. So about halfway through the
You said
journey.
the time, by the way.
No mind about the time.
I'm worried about the time.
And what happened was, this guy sat down and he asked for the wine list. He ordered 4 bottles of wine, one after the other.
Yeah.
And each one, the waiter had to say, I'm sorry, sir, we've got none on that left. I'm sorry, sir, we've got none on that left. So he said, well, where's it all gone? And he pointed to our table, and there were 8 bottles of wine upturned in a silver bowl in the centre of the table, which Mr. Brazil and I and a couple of visiting friends had demolished. And we'd gone through the whole wine stock on the train.
Shocking.
They only ever used to sell about 2 or 3 bottles on the whole journey. They'd sold it all by the time we got to York.
Somebody should have warned them in advance.
Exactly.
He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. We are the Two Mikes.
Baby, even the losers, you're lucky sometimes. Even the losers, keep a little pride. They get lucky sometimes.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mikes, of course, and it's time for the most controversial section of the show. Goes out every Tuesday morning, of course, at this time. Toby Gillies has in the past been the opponent for Mr. Parry. He's so far 5-0 down. He's never won, and he's constantly complaining that the show is fixed, that the competition is fixed, and he just keeps bleating on and on and on, so much so that he's now absented himself from the triple rollover, which is about to take place.
I think he's in the Priory, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think he's had to go get some treatment.
Get a bit of treatment.
Jake Robson, however, is here instead.
Jake who?
Jake Robson.
Who's he?
He's a very esteemed TalkSport newsreader.
Is he? Right, okay.
A man of many talents. Does a lot of things when he's not here
I've
as well.
seen people like him off for breakfast.
Have you really? Yeah. Well, he's got the chance to win 3 in a row here, just because even though you didn't have the chance to draw the first 2, we thought this was a good way to start. So, what we'd like from you, Jake, is your 3 nominations for loser of the weekend.
My 3 nominations for loser.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want the reasons why as well?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, I think the first one's pretty obvious, and that is Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Big losers of the weekend.
Okay.
In more ways than one. They didn't beat Burnley, which they were expected to do. Obviously, their player, Nemanja Matic, was sent off.
Yeah.
They're very embarrassed. He's been banned. And everyone is just basically, saying that... obviously, they got hard done by, which kind of makes them losers even more.
Well, I think that's a pretty hard one to beat, to be honest. I hope Mr. Parry's got something better than that. Mm-hmm. But second one up?
Second one up?
Yeah.
Well, judging by the newspapers this morning, is Lionel Messi.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was seen coming out of a casino, which apparently is a massive, massive crime.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it depends if he won or lost, really, doesn't it?
Well, I was thinking that, but then if he won, then he was a winner. But then we don't know. But clearly being photographed and now having all of this blown up in his face the day of a...
Do you not think that it's likely he's
League.
done something like this before and nobody really knows, nobody
He said
knew
he
about
went there to see a bloke who lived in a flat above the casino.
Well, I don't believe that
You
story
know,
for a
I've
minute.
been researching this one.
You believe that, do you?
Because I believe
You've fallen for that.
I believe it.
Clearly he was there gambling, but I mean, the guy makes what?
You can't say
500,000
that.
a week?
You can't say that. You can't say he was
500,000 a
clearly
week.
there gambling. You don't know that.
Well, you don't go to a casino to visit a bloke upstairs.
Oh, he said he did.
That's ridiculous.
No,
I
I think he's a big loser.
Yeah.
A big loser. Especially on the night of such an important football match. To have
especially
that,
since Barcelona lost at the weekend
exactly.
as well.
And that'll disrupt the team, it'll disrupt him.
Exactly.
I
I like both of these so far. What's the third
And I've got
one?
a good other one, actually, for you.
Go on.
Do you remember Nani, who used to play for
Manchester United?
Yeah. Well, he now plays in Portugal.
Yeah.
And he scored a goal at the weekend. Big, long-range, 30, 40-yard effort. And he started crying.
Burst into tears,
Burst into tears.
Shocking behaviour.
What a loser.
Absolute loser. Yeah, I quite like all 3 of those. Brilliant. Well, Mr. Parry, you've got 3 tough ones to be up against this time.
You know, you're prejudging this.
Not at all.
Clearly on the fact that this is
Absolute
loaded
rubbish.
already. 3 brilliant ones.
You're not going to turn it into Toby Gillies now.
No,
Stop moaning, mate.
no, I'm not, because I've got 3 better ones.
All right, go on.
Right, the first one, without a shadow of a doubt, is Tim Sherwood.
Oh, yeah.
Tim Sherwood goes around giving it this punch in the air, Aston Villa endeavour. That's what he kept saying. You will not see any shortage of endeavour. When Villa took the lead in that game, he was up and punch in the air and to my mind, trying to make sure that the Villa fans knew from the word go, this man is no longer a Spurs manager, he's committed to the Aston Villa cause. But of course, what happened was, the team ran out of steam and he lost.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid after his brave words, and I like Tim, by the way, I think Tim's going to make a great manager, but I think he was just too overconfident at getting it all right.
You know him as Steve, of course.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. He famously called him Steve when we were coming out of a Spurs game once.
Overconfident.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Excuse me, do you mind not interrupting?
I'm the adjudicator. It's my job to interrupt.
Balloon face.
All right, you get a minus point for that.
-1
already.
I believe that he just got too over-enthusiastic and as a result ended up a loser.
Yeah.
Now, the second group
Bit
of...
obvious, that.
No, is it as obvious as Chelsea?
No.
Chelsea didn't even lose their game.
Don't get carried away.
You know, my opponent says Chelsea lost. What did they lose?
Well,
they
they've lost
didn't lose
everything.
the game.
They lost Matic.
They didn't lose the
They
game.
lost Matic.
They lost face.
Now, the second one is a group of people, and they are the long-term critics of Broadchurch.
Oh, yeah.
Because Broadchurch has turned out to be a brilliant series, so brilliant that they've commissioned a third series because the ratings are so high.
I thought they went down.
No.
They did go down.
No, they dipped in the middle and then came back up at the end. Right. So all those bums who thought that Broadchurch had petered out or gone up in smoke were wrong. And the third loser...
Yeah.
Can I just say...
Yes?
I didn't know that there were any critics of Broadchurch. I thought it was really popular.
No. They all said
there
that
have
the
been.
second
It's true. There have
series
been. I don't know
had
how many
too
there
complicated a plot
Yeah.
and it went
He
all
was
over
one
the
of them,
place.
actually. He was one of them.
No,
on
it
his
wasn't.
Porky
No, it
visit.
wasn't.
Yeah, you
No, it
said
wasn't.
you weren't going to watch it
No, it
anymore after the
wasn't.
third
No, I never
episode.
said that.
Yeah, you did.
And the third one is Jeremy Clarkson, who, if you're right up to speed, has been lambasted by the people of Liverpool because he tried to take the mickey out of the Scouse population, calling them backward and all sorts of things and
Shocking.
unsophisticated and all that kind of stuff. And considering, you know, that the people of Liverpool have had to suffer this sort of thing in very serious circumstances in the past, I think that Clarkson should have...
Very serious, that one.
Should have been minding what he said, and he's a complete loser, and worse than that in my view.
Yeah. Well, I don't think any of those are as good as Jake's, I'm afraid.
Rubbish.
So I'm going to give Jake the point for the loser of the week. And I'm going to say that actually, I'm not going to say it's Chelsea. I like Nanny. I think Nanny for crying after scoring a goal. Let's hear what the winners are now. Talk Sport Extra Time. It's time for the winners now. Mr. Parry, I'll let you go first this time because you're currently trailing Mr. Robson.
First obvious winner.
Yeah.
The most obvious winner we've ever had.
Go on.
Romelu Lukaku.
Winner?
Scored a
You're
hat-trick.
having a laugh?
Scored a hat-trick against Young
Yeah,
Boys.
then missed a hat-trick.
Scored a hat-trick against
having
Young
that.
Boys,
That's
OK?
rubbish.
How
Rubbish.
dare you say that's rubbish?
Can't
We
have
haven't
that.
been on air since that happened, therefore...
What do you mean?
We haven't been
Yeah, I
on
know,
air...
but he missed a hat-trick
He
at the
didn't
weekend.
miss a hat-trick. You can't miss a hat-trick. You can score a hat-trick, you can't miss a hat-trick. You can't.
Also, you were here after that game. You're here on Thursday night.
Yes, but not to do winners and losers, you oaf.
Okay.
Right?
You carry
that's
on with that, there'll be
Lukaku.
another minus point.
Right. The second winner, and I say this through gritted teeth because
Yeah.
I'm an Evertonian,
Yeah.
is Brendan Rodgers.
Okay.
Because Brendan Rodgers has turned Liverpool round.
Yeah.
Got a great result away at Southampton. It looks now like Liverpool might even push Manchester United out of that fourth
Louis van
slot.
Gaal won't be happy about
Yeah,
that.
Louis van Gaal will like it, but Brendan Rodgers, have you ever been to Belfast? will be very, very happy about that.
Right.
And the
What's the third one?
third winner, Eton College, because their boy Eddie Redmayne got the Oscar.
So I'm sure
and
they're really
that's
delighted
the sort
about
of that's the sort of people that the world's best public school turns out, and as long as they
You're
keep
really
turning
sorry
them out,
you didn't go there, aren't you?
Excuse me?
You're really sorry you didn't go there. Can you imagine what your life would have been like if you'd gone to Eton?
I'd have fitted in at Eton. I would
Yeah,
have,
in a cupboard. That's where you'd have fitted.
how dare you? I'd have fitted in.
You'd have
at,
been beaten black and blue every day.
What you
That's
mean?
just by the team. I was trying
beaten
to
up
avoid saying
by the older boys. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
let's
think
move
they're
on
really
because,
very good. Very
Because
good.
I quite like Brendan Rodgers there, but perhaps Jake's got some better ones.
I definitely have some better
Go on.
ones. Well, I think in a funny, perverse sort of way, I think one of the big winners of the weekend is Ashley Barnes.
Ashley Barnes, yeah, I like that.
He didn't get
Very
sent
good.
off. He didn't get sent off.
All yellow carded.
All yellow carded. And his team got a result at Stamford Bridge they weren't expecting. And now his manager's come out and defended him.
But what about his reputation as a professional footballer? Shredded down
No,
the tubes.
at least 50% of the people who you ask about it say that he was just trying to carry through the tackle. He wasn't.
rubbish.
He was passing the ball. He couldn't make his foot change shape.
Rubbish. He's a disgrace to the League of Professional Footballers. We all know that.
All right, number two.
Number two, I think one of the big winners of the weekend is Sky Sports.
Sky Sports,
For managing to get Jose Mourinho to come on the
True,
television
yeah.
on Sunday morning.
Hang on, he
not bad.
rang them up and said, "Do you mind if I come in? I've got lots to say."
Well, they're the winners in the end because they're the ones who had him on the show.
Are you doing a bit of work for Sky Sports lately? Are you? Bit of grovelling here
There's
to a
nothing
boss
wrong
who
with-
might be
There's
listening.
nothing wrong with putting another organisation up as a winner. Thirdly,
Well, it's along the lines of Mike's. Well, Eddie Redmayne.
Yeah.
Big winner of the weekend.
Wow.
I don't think I
Thank
need to
you.
explain why.
Thank
you. Thank you.
Well, yeah, but at least,
But I don't think
Jake has
yeah.
said the man himself who won an Oscar has won.
I think
And who
as opposed-
produced him?
As opposed to your...
Who produced him? Eton College.
His parents.
His
No,
parents, yeah.
Eton College
I
moulded
think-
him
I think
into what he is, a
Instead of-
winner.
Instead of
a
your
winner.
kind of,
You've got to
you know,
learn to be a
grovelling-
winner,
instead
Mike.
of your
You've got to
grovelling-
learn to be a winner.
I am a winner, and I'm actually better than being a winner. I'm the judge of winners and losers. And what I'm going to say to you is that since Jake won the losers category with Nanny crying, that gave him 1 point. And I'm going to say you both actually get a point for, or get half a point actually, because you share Eddie Redmayne and Eton College. So what that means is that he's got 1.5 points, you've got half a point. You're also deducted minus 1 point for calling me a balloon face, which actually means that...
Well, you are a
that,
balloon face.
that
The truth hurts.
It's 2.5 points to Jake, and it's half a point to you, which means that Jake has won the triple rollover. Yeah. So that's 3 points to Jake, so it's a tremendous effort. You've now won this more times than Toby Gillies. Absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic.
Well done. That was winners and losers. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on today, of course. No need for me to tell you who that is there?
No, that's Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, because Jimmy Page, has spent most of the last sort of 10 years, that Led Zeppelin have not been playing together because Robert Plant apparently doesn't want any sort of reunion, getting involved in remastering and restoring.
Yeah.
I didn't know they made 9, actually, but 9 albums that Led Zeppelin made.
Yeah.
I don't even remember Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Really?
But this one, now that we're talking about, is called Physical Graffiti.
Yeah, that was a double album.
It was a double album,
Yeah.
and it was said to be their best one.
Yeah.
It's said to be the one that that everybody thought was the peak of their talents and their career and all that kind of stuff.
It was pretty amazing.
And he's remastered it again. And
So they're going to re-release it?
yeah, they're releasing
Excellent.
it tomorrow.
I may have to get that.
Tomorrow morning, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
You
what
may have to get yourself down to HMV.
might have to get down to HMV, mate, and get it. And what I was going to say was that it's not just that he's got involved in this. He's done it as a passion to try and keep up the reputation of Led Zeppelin, and he does it with such affection, and he's been talking about it, talking about what I'm trying to get over here is the greatness of the group, but the sorrow and the sadness now that, Robert Plant has said they will never play together again.
Well, in
and
some
so
ways that's
therefore,
good, though,
he
isn't
says
it?
if that's not going to happen,
Yeah.
then we've got to make sure the quality of the stuff we've put out, over the decades remains very, very high.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good thing because I think there are way too many bands that continue well past their sell-by date.
Oh, I
Rolling
totally
Stones
agree.
now. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous when you see Mick Jagger
I think it's
jumping about
ludicrous.
at the age of 70.
I think it's absolutely ludicrous.
thinking he's Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Do you know I saw Led Zeppelin's last ever concert
Where was it?
at Nebworth,
Ah, Nebworth.
1979.
Right, okay.
Because it was that summer that John Bonham died.
Yeah.
And so they didn't do any more concerts after that.
Famous last quote from John Bonham: 3 large vodka and tonics, please, and a ham
And
sandwich.
a ham sandwich.
That was
Yeah.
it.
It's a man
You
after your
shouldn't be
own heart.
laughing. You shouldn't be laughing, but...
Although, did we not find out that wasn't necessarily the truth? There's about 8 different versions, as Alan Brazil would say, of his death.
Yeah, but also, we don't even know the location, because I said to you, well, I'm sure it happened in a hotel somewhere.
Yeah.
You thought it happened in Jimmy Page's house, or Robert...
No, I thought it happened in his own house.
His own house, right, OK. And in fact, one correspondent contacted us and said, no, it was a hotel in Toronto, in Canada.
Now, here's an interesting thing, talking about ways of rewriting history, or writing history, in fact. I've had this sent to me by an anonymous listener who sent me a link to a story that was published on Friday the 17th of February 1995 in The Independent, of all newspapers.
Wow.
And the headline is Newsman Bitten by Player.
What?
Remember this? Newsman Bitten by Player.
No.
You don't remember it?
No.
You were there.
Newsman?
Bitten by Player.
Player? What player? Like a football player?
Vinnie Jones is the clue.
Oh, Vinnie Jones. Yeah, I was there. Yeah, that's
you remember
right.
it now.
Yeah, I do.
It was when Vinnie Jones bit the nose
That's
of
right,
one of our former colleagues,
Ted Oliver.
Yeah. And it says in the third paragraph, Mike Parry, comma, the FA's press officer, comma, hang on, who saw the alleged attack, said, quote, I did witness an incident between Vinnie Jones and Ted Oliver. I have compiled a report which I have sent to my colleagues and senior executives at the FA at Lancaster Gate. Now, what you didn't say there was, don't worry, boys, shortly after I've sent it to them, I'll be sending it to you so that you can have the inside dope on it. But I noticed that they referred to you as a press officer.
No.
Extraordinary.
Director of Communications, mate.
It doesn't say that.
Well, they got it wrong then, didn't they? You know, they should have...
Story by Matt Tench. Remember him?
No, never heard of Matt Tench. Sounds like a fish.
Yeah, it does.
It's a tench, isn't it? A fish.
is, yeah. Anyway, I just thought by the way,
Well, that's fine. That happened in a hotel in Dublin on the same night as the England fans rioted in Dublin. It was a very, very busy night.
Yeah, I bet.
The plane took off from Dublin Airport. I wasn't on board because I'd had to sort out the Vinnie Jones situation.
Yeah.
Ted, by the way, was a bit of a tragic story. He was a lovely man. A real Irishman, an Irish boy, came over to the mainland and started in weekly newspapers, made his way up to be a top reporter on the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
And
Daily Mirror.
did he go to the Mirror first?
Yeah, he was at the Mirror all the time.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
No, Ted Oller was at the Daily Mail, mate. Believe me.
Well, I knew him from the Mirror.
Well, I knew him for years on the Daily Mail.
He was working for the Mirror when Vinnie Jones bit his nose.
No, he wasn't.
Yes,
He was at the Daily Mail. He wasn't. He wasn't. We had to call the Mail photographer up.
You want to double check that?
No,
Are you sure?
No, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of my story is he then went out of circulation for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what happened. He went back to Ireland, and sadly he'd contracted cancer, and he decided to do what a lot of people do in that situation. He withdrew from public life.
Yes.
And I don't know anybody who saw him in those 2 years when he went into sort of internal exile.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, here's a story I want to ask
Yep.
you about. Remember, you've been moaning on and on about people who go into pubs shouldn't be
I
allowed
certainly
to drink
have. It happened
coffee.
to me at the weekend. It
Yeah.
happened to me at the weekend in a pub down in Surrey when somebody ahead of me, just one ahead of me, in the those entitled to be served at the bar, ordered 6 cups of coffee, and it drives me absolutely blinking
Well,
mad.
I've got some good news
Drives
for you.
me mad.
Got some good news for you because apparently, although here's a question from William here, has Porky ever done a broadcast without the mention of bars or alcohol? I don't think you have.
Well, I must have done. I mean,
Seems unlikely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is, I'm reading now that Costa Coffee are thinking about actually selling alcohol.
What?
So they're going to go around
What, in their
complete
cafes?
circle. Yeah, they're going to go in.
Well, I mean, that completely unsquares the circle, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't really, because I
Of course
mean
it
that's
does.
kind of what Tony Blair and his whole Cafe Society thing was meant to be about.
So
that
people
you
now
could-
go into Costa Coffee and order a glass of Shiraz as well as a cup of coffee.
They could do, yeah.
Well, ludicrous.
Why is it ludicrous?
Coffee houses should sell coffee and pubs should sell beer
Well,
and wine.
No, I don't
it's
agree.
as simple as that.
Why does it need to be so sort of delineated like that?
Because if you specialise in things that become more efficient. For instance, if Aston Martin started trying to build minis and lorries, as well as Aston Martins, they would become an unproductive company.
Well, BMWs build minis, don't they?
So, yeah, OK, it doesn't
Well,
matter.
how does it not affect BMW?
No, because Aston Martin's a specialist car, and Aston Martins stick to building Aston Martins, they become very efficient.
What about Ford and Rolls-Royce?
Ford and Rolls-Royce, what about them?
Well, Ford owns Rolls-Royce, don't they?
Ford does not own Rolls-Royce.
Well, they used to.
No, they don't.
They bought them.
No.
And then they sell them.
No.
Are you sure?
No.
You're not sure, are you?
I think I know. No, I'm sure. Don't BMW own Rolls-Royce?
Not anymore. I don't think they ever did. No, BMW owned Mini.
No, they own one. They own either Rolls-Royce or Bentley.
They did own it, apparently, in 2002.
Right, OK. And now they don't.
I don't think they do. Ford owned them for a while.
No, I know who own Rolls-Royce now.
Who?
I think they're owned by an Indian or Chinese
Tartars.
company. No, I don't think it's Tartars. Tartar own Jaguar
and
Land Rover.
Right.
Yeah, they make a very good job of it, by
They
the way.
do. So it's not a problem for them then.
No.
So your comparison is out the window.
It's not. No, it's not. But look, I don't think you should be serving wine in coffee bars or coffee in pubs. It's just not on. It's just not on. It's like going into
But
the
if you
bakers.
go into a country in Europe, for example,
Yeah.
there are many places you can go in Paris where you can have either a coffee, a tasse de thé, or you can just have a beer.
Well, you can in this
What's
country
wrong with
now
that?
as well.
What's wrong with that?
Well, because in Paris now to do it, they have to work their coffee machines properly. In this country, you see young people...
Yeah, but that's a service-related problem.
Yeah, it is. Young people messing around with coffee machines, don't have to work them.
Yeah.
There's steam going all over the place. Nothing's getting made. It's frustrating. It's annoying.
I've got a theory, by the way, about all these coffee machines.
Yeah.
I don't think they're actually putting any coffee in them at all. I think they're putting like coffee essence in.
Well, it could be.
Most of the time now you get a cappuccino, and you probably don't drink those, but it
I
doesn't
do,
taste
yeah,
like
I
you've
do.
got any coffee in it at all.
No, it just tastes
like
like froth.
Fizzy, foamy milk.
No, it's just froth. Yeah, I agree. Cappuccino, to me, is the strangest drink to drink because when you've finished with all the liquid, you've still got half a cup of froth.
Yeah.
It is a very weird drink
Yeah.
indeed.
Right.
And I'm going to stop drinking
But I'm
it.
sure it must be a real license to print money. I'm sure that they can make more money out of getting one of those coffee machines. You could set one up out on the street, right, and sell cappuccinos. I
Yeah.
bet you would make a fortune because you wouldn't even buy any coffee.
No. Well, maybe you're right. But to me, that's now, another complication. If you went into your baker's and suddenly they said, would you like to buy a couple of fresh trout? You'd
Fresh
think,
trout?
Yes. You'd think...
I went into my local bakery today,
Yeah.
which is a brilliant bakery,
Right.
by the way, and
Where
bought
is
some
it?
eggs.
Where is it?
In Battle.
In Battle, I see. Yeah, right.
And
Down on
also
the coast.
they sell some terrific. No, it's not on the coast. No, it's inland.
Inland, yeah.
But they sell some terrific eggs there, and I bought eggs there, and they sell the best eggs in anywhere I've ever been.
Well,
but it's a bakery.
Baker's shops do sell eggs.
Do they?
But they shouldn't be selling fish. That's all I'm saying.
They don't sell fish.
It complicates. No, of course they don't, and that's why.
They sell fantastic pies as well.
Coffee shops, homemade.
Homemade pies.
Yeah,
steak
coffee
chilli
shops
pies.
shouldn't be selling.
Well, I thought,
why?
I thought you'd be happier.
No,
now
not happy.
Because
no.
there are so many of these locations all over the country. That you'd be able to actually stop in and get a glass of wine, and many of them. Instead
well, listen,
if it
takes the people who buy coffee in pubs out of the pubs and back into the coffee shops because they can have a quick glass of wine at the same time, I'm all for it.
Right.
Just keep the coffee kings out of pubs. They don't belong there. It's a complete waste of time, and it's something which the bar staff absolutely hate. By the way.
Well, hang on. Here's
they
something for you.
hate it. Yeah,
one of the things that has been very, very successful by some of these sort of coffee shop chains, if you take like Costa Coffee or Starbucks or anything like that, one of the things they do very well is that they do everything very quickly. So if there is a bunch of people waiting for something, they can actually get the work done. They can make the coffee very quickly, and you're out there within 5 minutes. Maybe the pubs could actually learn something from their culture of service.
But don't you think there should be an ambience about the way a drink is served? It shouldn't be served by somebody wearing a Costa Coffee overall and basically smelling of coffee.
Well, maybe they'll think of a different way of doing it.
It should be served by a voluptuous barmaid or a chap who's, rather nifty with the cocktails or something like that. Shouldn't be served by somebody who's also dealing in coffee.
Yeah, well, if that's
view.
what you say. Now, James has tweeted a very interesting picture.
Right.
He says, tell Porky that Aston Martin do make a Mini. It's called the Signet, and it costs 30,000 quid. And there it is. There's a picture of an Aston Martin Signet.
What?
Isn't that interesting?
Never seen that car before in my life.
By the
they
way,
don't make it in this country.
Well, you can probably buy it. By the way, because Ferrari are going to make a 4x4. Did you hear that story?
Do you know what I saw the other day?
What did you see the other day?
I saw a 4-door Ferrari.
Well, you can get 4-door Ferraris.
I didn't know you
Are you
could.
sure it's not 4-door Porsche you're talking about? There's quite a few of those going around as
No,
well.
this is a 4-door Ferrari.
Yeah, you can get 4-door Ferraris.
I didn't know that. That's changed my mind about Ferraris altogether.
Well, you think you might get one now?
Well, I like saloon cars. I'm not saying I'm going to get a Ferrari.
You can't afford a Ferrari.
By the way, no, I don't think I can, and I'll tell you why. I walked past a garage over the weekend. It's called Romans. It's down in Surrey, just outside, south of a place called Banstead.
Right. Did I tell you that somebody tweeted that there's an HMV shop in Sutton, by the way?
Yeah, you've told me that 3 times.
Okay.
There. Thank you very much indeed, yeah. I'll remember that.
Okay.
And they had a Rolls-Royce priced at 236,000.
236,000. What, new?
Well, I assume
that
it's new.
second-hand?
I don't know. I assume it's
That's
new.
ridiculous for a car.
They had Bentleys, right? Baby Bentleys, 2-door baby Bentleys, 189,000.
That's bonkers. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
189.
Crazy.
They had Ferraris well in excess of 150,000, like 156, 163. I mean, I just can't believe how people can spend that much money on a car, or how cars can cost that much money.
Did you see that story at the weekend about the guy with the McLaren who smashed it up in Eaton Square?
£250,000 car.
I've been driving around that area before, particularly on a Sunday morning, and all these rich kids who have got these kind of supercars, because they're all the sons of very wealthy, Arab sort of oil sheikh billionaire types, and they drive around, they race all the way around like Knightsbridge and down Sloane Street, and I bet it was one of those. And he smashed this car into a Saab.
I know.
Completely destroyed it. 250,000 quid.
Unbelievable. Literally unbelievable. But these, what I'm saying
I'd
is,
be
Mike,
frightened to drive a car that expensive.
Well, you might be, but what I'm saying is that I just, it's a real indicator of the economy that they can put those on a garage forecourt with literally a card in the windscreen, like you'd see in a in sort of an Arthur Daly type car lot, with £236,422 on it.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Must have been £8 million worth of cars in that. More, 10, 12 million.
I suppose you didn't go in and ask to test drive one of them.
Well,
Sean,
I might one of these days.
Says this: does Porky ever let you finish a story without butting in with ye then? Hijacks your story. Patience of a saint, he says you've got.
No, I'm just trying to put you on the straight and narrow because, you veer all over the place. That's your problem.
Yeah, well, you can put me more on the straight and narrow tomorrow.
Good idea.
Tomorrow night after Manchester City against, of course, Barcelona, who have all been to the casino. We'll see whether that makes any difference to them. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV. Liz is not very happy with you. She says, how very dare you give your telephone number to some floozy? I thought I was the love of your life.
Well, I wasn't giving it to a floozy. It was a lady who was interested in British naval architecture.
Right.
And I have some outstanding literature on the subject, and I was just trying to help, that's all.